Chapter 4267. The ghost realm. Hei Shinjo went to the third courtyard's kitchen and pretended to guide them for an inspection. Then she shamelessly packed a pile of delicious food and strolled back to the courtyard. The people in the third courtyard's big kitchen dared not to be angry, but they did not dare to say anything. After all, this little girl was now the last disciple of the sect master. One person achieved enlightenment, and the chickens and dogs ascended to heaven. The silly cuties also followed suit, hugging the meat bones and munching happily. When Dog 2 saw the cat cub's lack of interest, it had a thought. This cat cub was the most narrow-minded. Usually it was very protective of its food, but today it was acting so strangely. There must be something wrong. It eagerly went to Yun Chujia's side and said, "Little fairy, I report. The cat cub is up to no good. If it didn't have something on its mind, why would it be so quiet?" The kitten almost fell to the ground. It hurriedly said, "Little fairy, don't listen to its nonsense. I'm just too tired from reading the books a few days ago." Yun Chujio narrowed her eyes. Among all these silly cuties, the one she was most worried about was this fake kitten. Although it placed its hopes on the soul transformation technique, it was hard to guarantee that it would play some tricks. When the cat cub saw Yun Chujio's cold gaze, it could not help but tremble. It stammered, "I did hide something, but it's useless to say it out loud." Before Yun Chujio could say anything, Dog 2 glared at it and said, "Whether it's useful or not, that's up to the little fairy. What's the use of saying that? Quickly tell me the truth or I'll kill you." The kitten hated Buttface to death. However, Yun Chujio was protecting it, and although it was useless now, it was still an ancient fierce beast. It didn't have absolute confidence in killing it, so even if it hated it to the bone, it couldn't do anything. It could only say with an embarrassed expression, "Since the little fairy wants to know, I'll just say it. I know where the blazing red glass is." "What?" Yun Chujio suddenly stood up and held the kitten's ear and asked, "Do you know where the blazing red glaze tile is? Where is it?" The little silver snake, who had been resting with its eyes closed, opened its eyes and stared at the kitten with a burning gaze. The kitten was so frightened that it trembled and said, "I've also heard about it, so I don't know if it's true or not. It's rumored that the royal family of the Ghost Clan has the blazing red glaze tile. But the Ghost Clan is very fierce, and their cultivation methods are different from ours. So, it's useless even if I tell them or not." When Buttface heard about the Ghost Clan, he immediately regretted that he had said too much. He did not want to go to that kind of place again. He had scared his baby to death. Yun Chujio was at a loss. Ghost Clan? What's a Ghost Clan? Don't people have to enter reincarnation to become ghosts? Why is there a Ghost Clan? Beiming explained, the Ghost Clan is just a title, not a real Ghost Clan. The place where they live is called the Ghost Territory. After the Ghost Clan left the Ghost Territory, they entered the immortal soul state. The people in the world mistook them for ghosts, so they gave them the name of the Ghost Clan. Correspondingly, other races could only enter the Ghost Territory in the immortal soul state, and the immortal soul of humans was the most fragile. Therefore, the Ghost Territory was never worried about being invaded by other races. Most importantly, the entrance to the Ghost domain has always been hidden. Almost no one knows where it is, so the Ghost race rarely interacts with other races. Although Yun Chujio still had a lot of doubts, she finally knew most of it. She looked at Kitten and asked, "Do you know the entrance to the Ghost domain?" A hint of schadenfreude flashed in Kitten's eyes. "I don't know, but Buttface knows that it disappeared for a few years. It is said that it was trapped in the Ghost domain." Chapter 4268. "You are the only woman that I have my eyes on," Buttface shouted in exasperation. "Nonsense. I'm not trapped there, I'm just loitering. I'm an ancient beast. How can a mere Ghost Clan trap me?" The cat cub curled his lips in disdain and did not say a word. "Little fellow, are you trying to trick me? If I can't get better, don't even think about it. We are all in the same boat." Yun Chujio looked at Dog 2's fierce appearance and curled the corners of her mouth. No wonder Dog 2 was afraid of ghosts. It was not the ghosts but the Ghost Clan that it was afraid of. However, looking at how afraid it was likely that the memories of the Ghost Realm were not very good. "Dog 2, do you know the entrance to the Ghost Realm?" Yun Chujio asked faintly. Buttface shook his head like a rattle drum. I don't know. I was muddle-headed back then and accidentally stumbled into the ghost domain. I didn't know where the entrance was. Besides, little fairy, the ghost domain isn't a place for humans to go. Spiritual energy will be suppressed there. And it's still in the primordial spirit state. In addition, those ghosts are all very cruel and abnormal. Don't be stupid. Yun Chujo knew that Buttface must know the entrance to the ghost realm when she saw the guilty look on his face. However, should she make such a trip? Di Biming said in a deep voice, Little Jiao, I'll make a trip to the ghost realm after my body recovers. You don't have to get involved in this matter anymore. You just need to cultivate well in the nameless sword sect. Before Yun Chujo could say anything, Buttface shouted, No, Your Excellency, you can't go. This time both Di Biming and Yun Chujo were stunned. They knew something from Buttface's words. Yun Chujo said coldly, Buttface, it seems that you are hiding a lot of things from me. Tell me what is going on. Buttface wanted to slap himself twice. He blinked his eyes and said, I don't know the specifics. I only know a little. If I'm wrong, you can't blame me. Yun Chujo snorted coldly. This Buttface was becoming more and more calculative. His words were becoming more and more watertight. Seeing that Yun Chujo ignored him, Buttface could only continue. The Ghost Clan and the Yen Clan had a good relationship for a period of time. Wasn't Your Excellency the Lord of the Yen Clan in the past? That's why they had an acquaintance. It was said that Princess Mayen of the Ghost Clan admired the Lord very much. She once said that she wouldn't marry anyone other than the Lord. However, after the Lord disappeared mysteriously, she didn't know whether Princess Mayen had married or not. Little fairy, think about it. If this Lord goes to the ghost realm, wouldn't he be like a meat bun hitting a dog and never coming back? Di Biming heard Buttface's metaphor and glared at him. However, this glance had a different meaning in Yun Chujia's eyes. She sneered and said, What? Are you afraid that I will know that you have an old lover? Di Biming rebuked coldly, What nonsense are you talking about? Although I have lost a lot of my memories, I can swear to the heavens that from the beginning to the end, you are the only woman that I have taken a fancy to. Other women are no different from cats and dogs in my eyes. When He Xinzhou heard Di Biming's words, she felt a little better. However, when she thought about it, this pretty boy had too many secrets. There might be a few coquettish bitches jumping out one day. She had to be on high alert. In case the wife-slave that she had painstakingly groomed was taken advantage of by others. Then the question was, should she go to the ghost realm? Chapter 4269 Scheming Dog. While Yun Chujo was pondering, Di Biming said coldly, Little Jiao, you should get rid of this idea as soon as possible. I will go there myself after I recover. Yun Chujo pouted and said, What if you are set up by that whatever succubus? You are so stupid. I'm afraid that you will fall for it. Di Biming? Buttface couldn't wait for Yun Chujo not to go to the ghost realm, so he said, Little fairy, how can you not trust Your Excellency? Your Excellency loves you more than gold. How can you like that succubus? Although that succubus is the #1 beauty of the Ghost Clan in my opinion, she can't even compare to a strand of your hair. Your Excellency will never like her. Yun Chujia's sense of danger grew stronger when she heard that succubus was the #1 beauty of the Ghost Clan. That old woman had lived for tens of thousands of years. She might have many tricks up her sleeves. No matter what, she had to go with her. Otherwise, what would happen if the pretty boy's virginity was taken away? Di Biming knew what Yun Chujo was thinking when he saw her expression. He glared at Buttface, who was not helping. He knew that Yun Chujo was fearless. No matter what, he had to calm her down first. Hence he said, How about this? After I recover, we will go together. Yun Chujo felt that this was a good idea, so she nodded and agreed. Buttface immediately drooped his head. He did not want to return to that nightmare-like place. However, he was now the little fairy's beast. If the little fairy wanted to go, he could only follow her. The baby really wanted to cry. Just as Buttface was feeling miserable, Yun Chujo asked, Right, Buttface, where is the entrance to the ghost realm? Buttface blinked his dog eyes. Although he did not want to say it, he still said, It's far away and right in front of us. It's under the sword pool. Otherwise, where do you think these drifters came from? The Eye of Sword Intent was also the entrance. but it was probably destroyed by those drifters. This time not only Yoon Chujio but even Dee Biming was surprised. Could these drifters have something to do with the Ghost Clan? Didn't they say that these were the killing aura? No wonder they could only stay in the puppet disc once they left the Eye of Sword Intent or the Nameless Sword sect. So this was the reason. Then they are the Ghost Clan? Yoon Chujio asked in disbelief. Buttface shook his head. They shouldn't be the Ghost Clan. Who knows what the hell they are? They look quite similar to the killing aura. The drifters heard their conversation and immediately fluttered around, not knowing why they were so smug. Yoon Chujio looked deeply at Buttface. She had thought that he was a good-for-nothing, but it turned out that he was a scheming dog who was loyal to the outside but a traitor. There must be a lot of things that he was hiding from her. When Buttface saw Yoon Chujio looking at him with an unfriendly gaze, he immediately shivered. Little fairy, it's not that I didn't want to report it. It's just that the ghost domain is too dangerous. I'm doing this for your own good. If Yoon Chujio believed him, there would be a ghost. However, she could also see that this scheming dog was full of schemes. It was useless to force it. She could only take her time to deal with it. However, the entrance was much easier in the sword pool. This way, she was not afraid that Dee Biming would leave her alone. That night, everything was quiet. Yoon Chujio and Dee Biming also entered their dreams. Because there was a murderous aura guarding the courtyard, Yoon Chujio did not release Stupid Ming to watch the night. The murderous aura sneaked into the bedroom. The silver snake opened its vertical pupils. However, it quickly felt dizzy and did not know anything. Chapter 4270 Heading to the Ghost Region. A dark light flashed past the black bead in Yoon Chujio's dantian, but it disappeared in an instant and did not make any movements. Guai Chao and the Great Void Mirror seemed to have noticed the unusual movements, but the two of them did not make any movements either. The murderous aura wrapped around Yoon Chujio and the small silver snake and soon disappeared from the bedroom. Their movements were mysterious, and they skillfully avoided the patrolling disciples and headed towards the sword pool. Soon they arrived at the sword pool. What was surprising was that with their wrapping, the sword lights could not hurt Yoon Chujio and the small silver snake at all. Soon they disappeared into the sword pool. Hei Shinjo was teasing a certain lord in her dream when she suddenly had a very strange feeling. It was as if her entire person was in an ethereal state. She opened her eyes in a quiver. However, she realized that she was in a red mist. To be exact, she was surrounded by a group of drifters. What was going on? She subconsciously looked for the small silver snake. She was shocked when she saw a phantom floating beside her. She muttered to herself with a dumbfounded expression, "Am I still in a dream? Otherwise, how did this pervert become like this?" A certain being. Little Jiao, our primordial spirits have already left our bodies. We are both in the primordial spirit state now. Dee Biming's tone carried a hint of helplessness. He woke up earlier than Yoon Chujio, but he could only watch as these drifters carried him forward. However, he saw that the place where their bodies were located seemed to be a secret room, and there were even some drifters surrounding it. It should be very safe. Yoon Chujio was a little confused. What did they mean by Yuan Shan leaving the body? Why did Yuan Shan leave the body when he was sleeping? This fellow looked at his hand and realized that it was indeed a purple phantom. Just as she was confused, Buttface's fawning voice came from behind. "Little fairy, I told you that these drifters are a little strange. They are indeed very strange. They actually led us into the passage leading to the ghost realm in a daze." Buttface? Yoon Chujio turned around and saw an earthy yellow phantom shaking its head and wagging its tail to flatter her. Yoon Chujio frowned. "I remember that I didn't let you out at night. How did you follow me?" Buttface had a sullen look on his face. He didn't want to follow her either. It would be much better if he could eat and drink in the spirit beast pouch. However, these damn drifters somehow managed to get his primordial spirit out of the spirit beast pouch and even brought it along with them. After hearing what Buttface had told her, Yoon Chujio pondered for a moment. It seemed that these drifters were selective. Otherwise, they would have brought the rest of the dumb cuties along, and not just Buttface. Now was not the time to fight with these drifters. Since they had already gone to the ghost realm, she would go there and take a look. She wanted to see what the old witch who coveted her man looked like. After thinking it through, this fellow also had the mood to relax. He smiled and said to the little silver snake, "Prince Charming, you still don't know, right? I learned a little trick in the underground of the ghost city. I'll perform it for you to relieve your boredom." A certain someone was completely speechless. What kind of time was this? He actually still had the mood to play a little trick. His heart was really big. Yun Chujo did not care about a certain someone's reaction. She removed her arms and legs. Under a certain someone's horrified gaze, she transformed into countless purple light spots, and then transformed into a certain someone's appearance. Chapter 4271 Turned into a human again? A certain someone looked at Hei Shinjo, who was showing off, and the shock in his heart could not be described with words. A human's primordial spirit was extremely fragile. If it turned into a light spot like the little rascal just now, would it mean that her soul and spirit were destroyed? Not only was she fine, but she could even transform back into any form? How was this possible? Yun Chujo saw the small silver snake's dumbfounded expression and felt that she was awesome. Those shameless drifters began to show off as well. Yun Chujo secretly gritted her teeth. What did her ability have to do with them? They actually followed her and showed off as well. How shameless! Yun Chujo had enough of the small silver snake's shock and blinked her eyes. Although there shouldn't be any enemies in the ghost realm, her physique was really terrible. For safety reasons, it was better to change into another appearance. Thus, this fellow transformed into an ordinary-looking young girl. However, the edges of the phantom were different from the silver of the little silver snake and the earthen yellow of Buttface. Instead, it was purple. Beiming knew her intentions and agreed with her. Everything in the ghost realm was unknown. It was always right to be careful. After drifting for almost a day, a dazzling light spot finally appeared in front of them. Yun Chujo knew that they were about to reach the exit. This guy was afraid that the silver snake and Buttface would get separated from him, so he wrapped the silver snake around his arm and held Buttface in his arms. Fortunately, they were both in the primordial spirit state, so there was no difference in their actions. When Dog 2 saw the silver snake's cold gaze, it shivered. It knew that the jealous god was angry that the little fairy was hugging it. However, even if it had to risk offending a certain god, it had to hold on to the little fairy tightly and not let go. The ghost domain was such a terrifying place. If it did not follow the little fairy, it would be very miserable. Finally, the drifters brought 3 of them to the exit, and a blinding light was emitted. When Yun Chujo regained her sight, she realized that she had become a human again. She pinched herself and grimaced in pain. Had she really become a human? Then she looked at the clothes on her body. It was completely the same clothes that she had transformed into previously. It was simply too magical. Then, she looked at the little silver snake and Buttface on the ground beside her. They were almost exactly the same as before. However, the figures of the drifters had disappeared. Could it be that they did not follow them out? At this moment, Buttface said eagerly, "Little fairy, do you find it very strange? This is easy to understand. The members of the ghost clan turned into ghosts when they came to our side, so we turned into humans when we came to their side." Although Buttface said it in a roundabout way, Yun Chujo also understood what he meant. It was nothing more than talking about the ghost realm, where the primordial spirit turned into a corporeal body. Due to a certain god's memory loss, he also felt that this experience was very fresh. However, he was not as obvious as Yun Chujo. Because she no longer had a storage ring on her body, Yun Chujo could not see her own appearance now. She asked, "Prince Charming, do I look like my original appearance after I'm easily transformed?" Beiming said, "It's your transformed appearance. But why is there a red mole between your brows?" Yun Chujo could not see it without a mirror. She said casually, "I guess I didn't notice it when I transformed. I'll see if I can transform into something else." Yun Chujo tried the previous method. Her body actually turned into purple smoke and then transformed into Shue Wuji's appearance. However, there was still a red mole between her eyebrows that was as red as blood. Chapter 4272. Dog 2's elemental energy level. Yun Chujo once again reverted to her original appearance and frowned. She had a guess. Could this damnable red dot be those drifters? When these damnable drifters were in the nameless sword sect, they always wanted to make her frown. Now she finally got what she wanted. However, now was not the time to bicker with them. The important matter was still more important. Yun Chujo tried to use her spiritual power, and found that her spiritual power had been suppressed to the 8th level of the spirit enhancement realm. She was so angry that she almost vomited blood. Spirit enhancement? How far away was this level? Wasn't it so weak that she could not even summon Dehua? She tried to summon Dehua. Not to mention Dehua, she could not even summon a small purple needle. This guy felt a little uncertain. He could not use the big kitchen knife Dehua and those stupid cuties. His spiritual power had been suppressed to the level of the spirit enhancement realm, and he had 2 free food beside him. His future was bleak. A certain god did not know that he had been treated as free food by He Shinjo. He looked a little annoyed and tried to summon an ice dragon. Soon an ice dragon appeared in front of the 2 of them. He Shinjo saw the ice dragon and widened her eyes. She asked, "Prince Charming, what level is your spiritual power suppressed to?" "I'm only at the 8th level of the spirit enhancement level now. The ghost realm is indeed very strong in suppressing spiritual power. But fortunately, at least I can still release the ice dragon. It's just that using it once will consume a lot of spiritual power," Debeiming said in a deep voice. Yun Chujo was so angry that she was speechless. This was a blatant discrimination. Why could a gigolo be able to use a spiritual beast when they were both at the 8th level of the spirit enhancement realm? Why couldn't she? Oh right, it seemed that when they were in the Qingxian continent the gigolo's spiritual power was also suppressed. But he could also use a spiritual beast. It was really fucking unfair. This guy pouted and ignored Debeiming. Instead, he carefully observed the surrounding environment. She had roughly scanned the area before, and realized that this was a wilderness. It did not look any different from the towering sky continent. It was just that it was remote and desolate. "Buttface, do you know where this is?" Buttface narrowed his dog eyes and said, "The ghost domain has many such wilderness, so I can't tell where this is. However, the yuan-chi here is very thin. It's most likely the base domain." Dog 2 saw that Yun Chujo and the small silver snake were somewhat confused. It explained, "The ghost race cultivates not spirit energy but yuan-chi. Yuan-chi is extremely important to them, so they divided the ghost domain into 3 regions: base domain, flat domain, and imperial domain. The base domain mainly lives in the commoners, while the flat domain lives in the commoners and a portion of the commoners who are servants. The imperial domain is the aristocratic families and the imperial family." Yun Chujo asked curiously, "It's easy to understand the aristocratic families and the imperial family. What's the difference between commoners and commoners? And according to what classification?" Dog 2 looked at Yun Chujo sympathetically. "According to the classification of elemental energy, little fairy, you don't have a single trace of elemental energy at the moment, so you are definitely a lowly commoner. If you want to get close to the imperial family and obtain the blazing red glaze tile, the most important thing is to increase your elemental energy. Otherwise, not to mention going to the imperial region, even surviving is a problem." Yun Chujo glanced at it. "From what I hear, you have elemental energy?" Dog 2 immediately said smugly, "No matter what, I was once trapped in this ghost domain. Yes, I roamed around for hundreds of years. In the end, I didn't even put the royal family in my eyes, let alone the commoners. It's just that my soul has only recovered a little, speak human language. So there's not much elemental energy left. Cough cough. It's only at the level of a rank 3 origin beast, which is equivalent to the 3rd level of the ghost clan," Buttface said guiltily. Chapter 4273. Go for hunting. Although Yun Chujo did not know the level of elemental energy, seeing the guilty look on Dog 2's face, she knew that it was most likely the lowest level of elemental energy. After asking, it was indeed the lowest level of elemental energy. Yun Chujo asked Dog 2 about the cultivation method of elemental energy. "Little fairy, you are a human and I am a beast. This cultivation method is different. If you want to learn how to cultivate elemental energy, you can only buy some cultivation books or find someone to teach you. However, it is very difficult to get started. I reckon that you and your majesty will need a long time to catch up to me." Seeing that a certain lord in Heishinjo did not have elemental energy at the moment and that he was the most powerful, Dog 2 could not help but feel a little smug. Yun Chujo frowned. Whether it was buying books or finding someone to teach, the most important thing was to have money first. No matter what currency was here, she did not have a single cent. Her gaze landed on Dog 2. Dog 2, when we reach the town, I will sell you for some money. After that, you can think of a way to run back. But face, you'll lose your baby if you act like this. Of course, Yun Chujo was trying to scare Buttface so that he wouldn't think that she had elemental energy and act all smug. A certain deity naturally knew what Yun Chujo was thinking and said cooperatively, "This idea is not bad. Although it doesn't have much use, it's not a bad idea to let people buy it to eat meat." Buttface was so scared that he was about to cry. His ears and tail immediately drooped as he said with a sobbing tone, "Little fairy, I was wrong. I shouldn't be so smug. I'll definitely tuck my tail between my legs and become a dog again in the future." Yun Chujo curled her lips. "It's fine if you don't sell it. Think of a way to earn money. If you can't think of one, I'll have to sell you." Buttface thought bitterly for a while, then he said, "I remember that there's a type of sword-toothed gopher in this wilderness. It's only a rank 1 origin beast, which is equivalent to the first layer of the Ghost Clan. Although it's not very valuable, it can be exchanged for some money. Why don't we capture some and sell them for money?" Yun Chujo had no other choice but to bitterly follow Buttface and start catching gopher. Buttface found a palm-sized hole with familiarity and said to Yun Chujo, "Little fairy, you stay here. I'll go to another hole and release my elemental energy. It will run out from this hole. You just need to catch it." After seeing Yun Chujo nod, Buttface ran to a hole in the distance and began to release his elemental energy into the hole. He also used his claws to dig a hole. After the sword-toothed gopher was frightened, it panicked and wanted to escape from the other hole. However, it was caught by Yun Chujo. The sword-toothed gopher was in a hurry to escape. Its sharp long teeth bit towards Yun Chujo's finger. Yun Chujo hurriedly raised her spirit energy shield. The spirit energy barrier was torn into pieces by the scimitar-toothed hamster's sharp teeth. Fortunately, at this time, Buttface jumped over and bit the scimitar-toothed hamster's throat. The scimitar-toothed hamster's neck tilted and it died. Yun Chujo frowned. It seemed that the first level of the original level was higher than the 8th level of the spirit enhancement. Her and the pretty boy's spirit energy was not enough. Moreover, they did not dare to use their spirit energy in front of outsiders. Therefore, the most important thing was to quickly cultivate their elemental energy. Following that, Yun Chujo and Buttface worked together to catch more than a dozen saber-toothed gophers. When they felt that it was about time, they identified the direction and walked towards the edge of the wilderness. Yun Chujo said with a faint smile, "Buttface, I see that you have a lot of mouse-catching skills. You caught quite a lot of these things before, right?" Chapter 4274. The dog gets the mouse. Buttface stammered and didn't say anything. When he thought of the miserable days when he got the mouse, he felt that this was the biggest dark history in his life. Back then, he accidentally bumped into the ghost realm, and his spiritual power was suppressed. In order to not starve to death, he could only use these sword-toothed gophers to satisfy his hunger. If it weren't for his strong body as a fierce beast, he would have died in this ghost realm long ago. Yun Chujo saw that Dog 2 was drooping its head, so she did not continue to tease it. Instead, she said slyly to a certain venerable Prince Charming, "Do you have any thoughts about revisiting this old place? Soon you will see Princess Meiyan. Are you excited?" This venerable one does not remember anything, so it is not a revisiting of the old place. You don't have to test this venerable one anymore. This venerable one's taste is not that bad. Any Tom, Dick, or Harry can be compared to this venerable one, the venerable one said coldly. When Yun Chujo saw that a certain venerable one had even come out with a venerable one, she knew that he was angry. She hurriedly said, all right, I won't mention it. I care about you, right? If you were snatched away by someone, my heart would be broken into 108 pieces." Hearing Yun Chujo's words, the certain venerable one was clearly very pleased. He felt that the entire snake was very comfortable. Buttface secretly curled his lips. It was really mushy. Moreover, what he thought was simple. He did not have any essence energy at the moment. How could he still dream of entering the Imperial region? Wishful thinking. Of course, this fellow only dared to think about it in his heart, but he did not dare to say it out loud. Perhaps it was because the resources in the wilderness were too scarce. Yun Chujo did not encounter any other essence beasts as she walked all the way to the edge of the wilderness. All she could see was a bumpy dirt road. Both sides were filled with rubble and sand, making it very desolate. Little fairy, it seems like my judgment is correct. This is indeed the scum domain, Dog 2 said as it looked at the situation on both sides of the dirt road. It's good that it's the scum domain. After all, I don't have any origin energy now. If I were to go to the other two domains, I'm afraid I won't be able to save my life, Yun Chujo said indifferently. Dog 2 curled its lips. Little fairy, you just happen to be wrong. At the very least, the Ping domain and the Imperial domain still had law enforcement teams in order. However, there were no laws and restrictions in the scum domain. They adhered to the principle of the strong preying on the weak. It was very normal to rob and kill people on the streets. Therefore, you should seek your own fortune. Yun Chujo frowned. She was currently as weak as a piece of trash. If she really encountered a villain, forget about protecting the pretty boy and Dog 2, she might not even be able to protect herself. However, if she did not enter the town and had no way to cultivate elemental energy, she would really be in a dilemma. Buttface saw Yun Chuji's worry and said, Little fairy, the elemental energy of the commoners in the towns near the wilderness is usually very low, only around the 3rd level of the Yuanshu realm. With me protecting you, you don't have to be afraid. Little Jiao, if they are only at the 3rd level of the Yuanshu realm, I can release the ice dragon at the critical moment to let us escape. It shouldn't be a problem for you to be careful. Even though Buttface and D. Biming said so, Yun Chujo still felt that it wasn't very safe. She blinked her eyes and transformed into a burly man. Then she said in a muffled voice, It should be better this way. Let's go. When Buttface saw the red mole between the burly man's eyebrows, he couldn't help but stagger. Wasn't this scene too sour and refreshing? Yun Chujo also slowly recalled the red mole between her eyebrows. She simply smeared some saber-toothed rat blood on her forehead, so that others would think that it was accidentally stained with blood. Chapter 4275. Mantown Buttface reminded, Little fairy, men and women's elemental energy auras are different. If the other party's elemental energy level is 5 levels higher than yours, they will be able to tell your actual gender. So it's fine here. If we go somewhere else, it's better for you to pretend to be a woman. Yun Chujo was stunned. There was such a saying. What if I turn into a stone? What if I turn into grass? Buttface's face was stiff. I've never heard of such a situation. I guess no one would believe that a person can turn into a stone or grass. Yun Chuji's eyes immediately lit up. If she really encountered danger, she could completely transform into a tree or grass. She could definitely escape this disaster. The most urgent matter at hand was to buy the spirit beast pouch used by the Ghost Clan. This way, when she was escaping for her life, she could keep Buttface. As for the pretty boy, he was small anyway, so she could just randomly stuff him anywhere. After thinking up to this point, Yun Chuji's mood became a little better. She hummed a little tune as she led Buttface forward. After walking for some distance, they sparsely met a few people. Although those people were puzzled that Yun Chujo did not have any origin energy undulations on her body, seeing her valiant figure and bringing along a 3rd-level origin beast, no one dared to go up and provoke her, so they were fine. Yun Chujo saw that those people's bodies were filled with a bloody and brutal aura, and she was even more convinced of Buttface's words. These lowlifes probably really did not have any rules to speak of, completely relying on their fierce fighting. After walking for half a day, she saw a town in the distance. There were 2 crooked words written on it, Man-town. However, rather than calling it a town, it was more appropriate to call it a village. It was really too small and too dilapidated. Even so, there were still 2 men with grassroots holding knives guarding the entrance. When they saw people with low elemental energy, they would blackmail them. If they couldn't hand over the things, they would be beaten up. Yun Chujo frowned and gave off a brutal and fierce aura as she swaggered towards the entrance. The 2 men exchanged a glance and wanted to go forward to stop her. However, they were frightened by Yoon Chuji's aura. When they saw Dog 2's fierce little eyes, they did not dare to go forward. Yoon Chujo walked in front of the two men and stopped. The two men jumped in fright. They thought that Yoon Chujo was looking for trouble, and immediately became vigilant. They did not expect Yoon Chujo to only stop for a moment before continuing to walk forward. The two of them only heaved a sigh of relief when they saw Yoon Chujo walk a distance away. They said, "That person's aura was really frightening, but there seemed to be no elemental energy undulations on his body. What's going on? I heard that if the elemental energy is too much higher than ours, we won't be able to see the other party's cultivation level. I reckon that person's elemental energy is much higher than ours. Didn't you see that the origin beast beside him is already at the 3rd level of the origin core realm? So that's how it is. Fortunately, we didn't offend him." When Yoon Chujo heard the conversation between the two, the corners of her mouth couldn't help but curl up. She had to say that the new skill she learned underground in Ghost City was still very useful. Yoon Chujo raised her eyes and looked over. This barbarian town was really dilapidated. There were practically no decent shops on either side of the road. Instead, there were many crooked thatched huts. There were also very few pedestrians on the road. Occasionally, she would see a few people who were also men. There were almost no women or children. But Face sent a voice transmission. "Little fairy, did you see that? Women and children don't dare to go out on the street. If they are not careful, they will be robbed and sold for money. The lowly domain is very barbaric." Before Yoon Chujo could reply, she heard someone behind her shout fiercely, "Stop! What are you trying to do by disguising as a man?" Chapter 4276 was too beautiful. Yoon Chuji's heart jolted. She secretly cursed Buttface for being unreliable. Didn't they say that the people here were only around the 3rd level of Yuanchu? How could a person who ran out now be able to tell that she was a woman disguised as a man? She had no choice. She had already been seen through by others. It was useless to blame Buttface. She could only brace herself and turn around. She saw a middle-aged man standing opposite her. There were deep and shallow scars on the middle-aged man's face. It seemed that he often fought with others. That person was sizing up Yoon Chujo with an inquisitive look. Yoon Chujo thought to herself, since this person was able to see through her gender, her origin energy was at least at the 5th level of the origin realm and above. It definitely wouldn't work if she tried to force it. She still had to use her wits. Thus, this fellow put on a delicate and pitiful posture and said, "Because my head is too beautiful, Mother has instructed me from a young age to better disguise myself as a man when I come out. Otherwise, people will covet my beauty." That middle-aged man looked at Yoon Chuji's ferocious face and revealed a bashful expression. He almost vomited. He was still worried that others would covet her just like that. Even a blind man wouldn't fancy her, all right? The middle-aged man adjusted it for a while before continuing to ask, "I don't see any elemental energy undulations on your body. Can't you cultivate? When I was 5 years old, my mother went missing, so no one taught me how to cultivate. I could only rely on catching these saber-toothed gophers to live." When the middle-aged man heard this, he thought to himself, no wonder her mother said that she was beautiful. It turned out that she was referring to before the age of 5. However, looking at her current appearance, she wasn't much better looking before the age of 5. However, he suddenly thought of something, and his eyes immediately lit up. He said, "I can teach you to cultivate, but the premise is that you have to join our wolf-killing hunting group and become a slave. Every month, we will pay you 300 low-grade yuan coins." Yoon Chujo was confused. What the hell was the wolf-killing hunting group? And she was even allowed to become a slave? Dog 2 transmitted his voice, "Little fairy, the hunting group is an organization formed by low-class commoners with slightly higher elemental energy levels. They divide their work and hunt some high-level elemental beasts. This way they can obtain more yuan coins, which is also beneficial for increasing elemental energy. They are low-class commoners themselves. Even if they say that they want you to become a slave, they won't establish any contract. You just have to agree. Once you learn the cultivation method, you can just run away." Yoon Chujo felt that what Buttface said made sense. She was penniless now and had 2 free meals with her. so she naturally couldn't let go of such a good opportunity. However, in order to conform to the impression she had just created, this guy covered his chest with his hand. He asked shyly, "You don't fancy me, do you? Whether it's a slave or a daughter-in-law, I'm willing to do it." The small silver snake in Yoon Choo-jae's sleeve pocket was so angry that it almost exploded. Even if it was acting, he didn't feel comfortable listening to it. He felt uncomfortable, and the middle-aged man was even more uncomfortable. If he didn't try his best to suppress it, he would have vomited long ago. "Well, you're thinking too much. Our wolf hunting group just wants to find a servant to cook for us. Since you're willing, come with me." Yoon Choo-jae said hesitantly, "Can you lend me some money first and deduct it from my salary? I want to buy a Essence Beast bag." That person looked at Buttface, who was beside Yoon Choo-jae, impatiently. He frowned and said, "Although a third-grade Essence Beast is not bad here, your Essence Beast is obviously a hybrid, a breed, and a dog. It's not valuable. Why not just kill it and eat its meat? Why waste money to buy a Essence Beast bag?" "Mixed breed dog?" Buttface nearly fainted from anger. He was an ancient fierce beast, but he was actually treated as a mixed breed dog? Damn it, I just can't beat him. Otherwise, I'll kill him. Chapter 4277. Jean Meili Hei Shinjo was secretly happy. However, she revealed a sad expression on her face. "If it hadn't accompanied me, I would have starved to death long ago. Therefore, in my heart it is the same as my family. I have no reason to abandon it." When that person heard that, his contempt towards Yoon Choo-jae weakened a little. The people of their hunting group valued loyalty the most. If there was no loyalty, how would they dare to hand over their backs to the other party in battle? Although this ugly girl was a little ugly, at least she had a good heart. She was much better than some fickle girls. He thought for a moment and took out a gray bag and a ring from the storage ring in his hand and handed them to Yoon Choo-jae. "Although this Origin Beast bag and storage ring are a little old and their grade is very low, they are enough for you to use. I'll give you a discount. A total of 1,000 low-grade yuan coins. When the time comes, I'll deduct it from your wages." Yoon Choo-jae immediately thanked him with a smile. However, her current smile was not at all cute, and it was a little silly. After Yoon Choo-jae took the items, she realized that she did not have any Origin energy, so she could not open the Origin Beast pouch and storage ring at all. The middle-aged man also thought of this and said, "Let's hurry on our way. When we rest at night, I'll teach you the method of absorbing qi into your body." "All right, my name is Sha Woohan. How should I address you, miss?" Yoon Choo-jae blinked her eyes and said, "So it's Brother Sha. My name is Jean Meili." Sha Woohan. Her appearance and name were worlds apart. It would be more appropriate if her surname was Jia. Sha Woohan found that Jean Meili was not only ugly, but also a little narcissistic. She was pretty good in other aspects. He came to Mantown this time to buy some sword pool gophers to trap higher-grade Origin beasts, so he noticed Yoon Choo-jae, who was holding a string of sword pool gophers in her hand. He was also surprised to find that she was pretending to be a man. That was why he stopped her. The reason why he had chosen Yoon Choo-jae was very simple. The wolf hunting group was just a small hunting group with limited manpower. There was no way to assign a person to cook and help, and it was even more impossible to hire a servant at a high price. He felt that Yoon Choo-jae was very suitable. Firstly, she did not have any family and would not have any worries. Secondly, she did not have any spiritual power. He only needed to use the excuse of teaching her spiritual power to reduce most of his wages. Thirdly, although she was a woman, she was so ugly, staying in the camp wouldn't cause any trouble. It was perfect. Sha Woohan recalled the purpose and said to Yoon Choo-jae, "Miss Jean, sell the sword pool hamsters you have to me. One is 2 low-grade yuan coins and you have 15. That's a total of 30 low-grade yuan coins." As Sha Woohan said this, he stuffed 30 low-grade yuan coins into Yoon Choo-jae's hand and put the 15 sword-toothed hamsters into his storage ring. Yoon Choo-jae didn't know the market value of the gophers. Besides, she couldn't say anything even if Sha Woohan didn't give her any yuan coins. It seemed that Sha Woohan wasn't bad. Yoon Choo-jae followed Sha Woohan to a dilapidated shop and bought hundreds of gophers before leaving Mantown. While they were on their way, Sha Woohan stared at Yoon Choo-jae's beard and asked, "Miss Jean, how did you get your beard? It looks quite similar to the real one. Well, the fur on the rat's tail was stuck on it, He Xinjiu said vaguely. Sha Wuhan nodded and endured it before saying, Miss Zhan, you really don't need to disguise yourself as a man. Your appearance is really safe. Yun Chujiu. Chapter 4278. The two chatted as they walked. Soon the sky turned dark and they found a place to sleep. Sha Wuhan took out 2 black steamed buns from his storage ring and handed them to Yun Chujiu. Miss Zhan, take a bite. When we get to the camp, we'll have a big bowl of wine and a big piece of meat. Yun Chujiu was speechless. It was obvious that Sha Wuhan didn't think of her as a lady. She was also hungry. Although the steamed bun didn't look good, she ate one randomly. The reason why there was still one left was very simple. Buttface and the pretty boy hadn't eaten yet. She took the opportunity when Sha Wuhan wasn't paying attention and stuffed half of the steamed bun into her sleeve pocket. The remaining half was stuffed into Buttface's mouth. Sha Wuhan turned around and saw the steamed bun in Buttface's mouth. He said disapprovingly, Miss Zhan, you spoil your Yuan pet too much. You just let it find its own food. And you even fed it steamed buns. Yun Chujiu smiled and didn't say anything. Buttface's dog blinked its eyes. It hated Sha Wuhan in its heart. Damn it, he called it a bastard, a dog, and refused to give it steamed buns. Just you wait. Sha Wuhan took out 2 more mantu and handed them to Yun Chujiu, saying, Here, eat. With your physique, you probably haven't eaten your fill yet, right? Yun Chujiu took the mantu and cursed in her heart. So stingy. Can't she give a few more at once? She used to be a little rich woman, but now she was reduced to a situation where she couldn't even afford to eat mantu. How tragic. Yun Chujiu ate 1 mantu, and the remaining one was fed to Little Snake and Buttface. Sha Wuhan did not say anything this time. After dinner he said, Miss Zhan. Yun Chujiu interrupted him, Brother Sha, don't be so distant. Just call me beautiful from now on. The corner of Sha Wuhan's eyes twitched. He had to admit that this name was too out of place. However, he still said against his heart, Beautiful girl, I'll teach you to draw qi into your body now. This is the first step of cultivating vitality. Sha Wuhan rambled on and on. Yun Chujiu felt that it was similar to drawing a spirit into her body, so she immediately sat cross-legged and tried to absorb Yuan qi. However, this fellow tried many times but failed to draw qi into her body. Sha Wuhan comforted her, Pretty girl, it's always like this at the beginning. You'll succeed in a few days. At this time the sky was already dark. Yun Chujiu could only rest temporarily. She did not know why, but she had a bad premonition that her Yuan qi cultivation would not go very smoothly. At midnight, the small silver snake in Yun Chujiu's sleeve pocket suddenly began to wriggle uneasily. Yun Chujiu was startled and could only stand up. Sha Wuhan blurted out in a daze. Yun Chujiu used the excuse of the latrine to enter the wild grass at the side. Yun Chujiu had just entered the wild grass when the small silver snake jumped out from the sleeve pocket. Then, a lively and fragrant fruit man appeared in front of He Xinjiu. He Xinjiu's eyes were wide open. She could not believe what she had just seen. The pretty boy had turned into a human? A certain someone's current mood could not be described with words. If there was a crack in the ground, he would definitely crawl into it without any hesitation. Previously, Sha Wuhan had taught Yun Chujiu the method of absorbing qi into her body. He had also practiced it in his sleeve pocket. He did not expect to succeed in one try. However, his entire person had entered a mysterious state. Then he sprinted away. Seeing that He Xinjiu was staring at him in a daze, a certain venerable had no choice but to cover a certain spot with his hand and said in a low voice, Close your eyes. He Xinjiu followed his advice and covered her eyes with her hand. However, she was still looking at him through the gaps of her fingers. Chapter 4279 was short. A certain someone was so angry that he gritted his teeth. He did not understand why the little rascal who had transformed into a person was wearing clothes, but he was now naked. He directly took out the storage ring that Sha Wuhan gave her from Yun Chujiu's sleeve pocket. After using his origin energy to open it, he discovered that there was indeed a tattered piece of clothing inside. He did not care much and directly put it on his body. Hei Shinjo had to admit that if a person was good-looking, even if he wore a sack, he would still look good. That tattered piece of clothing on Di Baiming's body forcefully gave off a luxurious feeling. Only then did Yun Chujo ask, "Prince Charming, why did you suddenly become a human?" "I'm already at the first layer of the origin core realm now. It's probably because of my elemental energy breakthrough, so, before a certain venerated being could finish his words, he had already disappeared." A small silver snake had appeared on the ground. Yun Chujo was stunned for a moment before saying faintly, "Male god, you really didn't have much time." A certain venerated being was so angry that his entire snake was distorted. Good, very good, he would remember it. Hei Shinjo shrunk her neck when she saw the small silver snake's ice-cold gaze. She explained dryly, "I'm talking about the short time you took to transform. I'm not talking about the short time you took to transform. Don't worry about it." The silver snake was so angry that it was about to turn into a dried snake. "You're trying to cover up, all right?" Hei Shinjo quickly changed the topic and sighed. "Prince Charming, you're the best. I didn't even manage to draw chi into my body, but you're already at the first level of Yuanchu. How can there be such a huge difference between humans?" Di Baiming knew that she was changing the topic and was in a rage, so he ignored her. Hei Shinjo laughed when she saw that a certain god did not say anything. "Prince Charming, put this clothes into your storage ring. Otherwise, Sha Wuhan will not be able to explain himself." Di Baiming snorted, but he still put the broken clothes into his storage ring. Yun Chujo told Di Baiming to put the spirit beast back, and the 30 yuan into his storage ring. Then, she put the silver snake into her sleeve bag and went back to the camp. The day was filled with anxiety and ups and downs. Hei Shinjo was tired and sleepy. She fell asleep very quickly. A few dark lights flashed in the small silver snake's vertical pupils. As her yuan power increased, some images flashed in her mind. It seemed that she had come to the right ghost region. When the sky was beginning to brighten, Yun Chujo woke up. Although she liked to sleep late, she had to know when. Now that there were so many dangers, how could she still dare to sleep late? When Sha Wuhan woke up, he saw that Yun Chujo was already sitting cross-legged in meditation, trying to draw chi into her body. He couldn't help but be very satisfied. The members of the wolf hunting group were all hard-working people. He didn't want to recruit a lazy person, even a servant couldn't do it. After the two of them had breakfast, they continued on their journey. Yun Chujo cursed in her heart. This Sha Wuhan was either really poor or stingy. He didn't even have a origin beast to carry him, let alone a flying spirit tool. That night, when she was resting, Yun Chujo tried to draw chi into her body again, but she still didn't succeed. Sha Wuhan didn't pay much attention to it. Many people needed a few days or even half a month to draw chi into their bodies, so it was normal for Jean Meili to fail. Although Hei Shinjo wasn't willing to give up, she felt sleepy and could only close her eyes to sleep. However, in the middle of the night, the small silver snake started to wriggle again. Yun Chujo had no choice but to run to a hidden place with the excuse that she had a stomachache. Then she admired a certain fruit sprinting again. This time, the certain snake did not waste any time with her. It took out some clothes from its storage ring and put them on. Hei Shinjo said gloomily, "I have to take them off later anyway. What's the point of putting them on?" Chapter 4280 was at least safe. A certain god did not want to say anything right now because no matter what he said, it was impossible to glue his face together. Hei Shinjo rolled her eyes and said slyly, "Prince Charming, don't tell me that you are going to run back and forth every night in the future? TSK, just for this luck with women, I feel that this trip to the ghost realm is really worth it." Di Baiming squeezed out 2 words from between his teeth. "Shut up." Hei Shinjo snickered before her smile froze. "Prince Charming, have you reached the 2nd level of Yuanchu? 1 level every day? That's too depressing." Di Baiming glanced at her. "It's not the 2nd level of Yuanchu. That's what I'm talking about. How can one level up every day? If that's the case, I won't let anyone live. I'm at the 3rd level of Yuanchu." Hei Shinjo. Damn it, she didn't want to talk anymore. She couldn't even draw the chi into her body, and the pretty boy was already at the 3rd level of Yuanchu. How could she let anyone live? Seeing Yun Chujia's charming eyes, A certain being wanted to make love to her. However, when he saw her square-headed face and the beard on her chin, all the charm was gone. However, he thought that it was better this way. At least it was safe. Although this time it was longer than yesterday, the certain being quickly turned into a small silver snake. Hei Shinjo curled her lips. I told you that there was no point in wearing it, right? Aren't you still taking it off now? Besides, where have I not seen your body? Where have I not touched it? It's unnecessary. A layer of pink appeared on the small silver snake's body. A certain lord scolded angrily, "Shut up. Hurry up and go back to sleep." Hei Shinjo rolled her eyes. She still had the nerve to say that. If you hadn't come out in the middle of the night, would she have come out to gloat? However, it was easy to deal with on the road. If she went to the wolf-killing hunting group, what would happen if the pretty boy transformed in the middle of the night? She had to think of a way. Fortunately, when the pretty boy transformed, there was no dazzling white light like before. Otherwise, there would be no way to hide it. The next day, when the two of them passed by the town, Sha Wuhan said, "Pretty girl, go and buy a set of women's clothes. $30 for a set of shabby women's clothes should be enough. Also get rid of your beard. Otherwise, it will look really awkward. Moreover, we can reach the camp today so I can introduce you to everyone." Yun Chujia's heart moved. For the sake of convenience in the future, it was indeed more suitable to change into women's clothes. Therefore, she chose a small shop and picked a set of shabby women's clothes. She put it on the outside of men's clothes. After the beard disappeared, she changed into a woman's hairstyle and walked out of the shop. Sha Wuhan looked at Hei Shinjo, who was wearing women's clothing. The corners of his eyes twitched. Although she looked better than before, she was really ugly. The most important thing was her strong figure. With that square head and big face, she didn't look like a woman no matter how he looked at her. The two of them left the town and walked for half a day. In the evening, they reached the edge of a forest. From afar, they could see several simple houses made of wood. Those wooden houses were basically gathered together. Could it be that there were many hunting groups here? Sha Wuhan brought Yun Chujio to a gathering place of wooden houses. There were 7 or 8 men eating around a fire. When those people saw Sha Wuhan and Yun Chujio, their mouths were wide open in surprise. Their target of surprise was obviously the beautiful Yun Chujio. "Boss Yu, who's behind you?" A short and fat man asked curiously. The rest of the people also looked at Sha Wuhan curiously. Chapter 4281. You are my ancestor. Sha Wuhan cleared his throat. Only then did he say, "This is a servant that I recruited. In the future, when we go hunting, we can leave her behind to guard the camp. Moreover, she can also help us cook and wash up. This can also reduce our burden." Only then did everyone come to a sudden realization. No wonder their boss recruited an ugly woman without elemental energy. So she was working for them. That short fatty asked again, "Boss, then what's her name? How should we address her?" Sha Yuan's expression froze. He paused for a moment before saying, "Her name is Jean Meili. From now on, you guys can call her pretty sister." Crack, crack, crack. The bowls in the hands of several people fell to the ground. Fortunately, they were all wooden bowls and weren't afraid of falling. They couldn't believe their ears. What the hell? Jean Meili? How could she call herself Jean Meili with such an honorable appearance? It would be better if she called herself Jean Unattractive. Yun Chujio covered her mouth with her hand and smiled shyly. "Aya, do you think him too good-looking? Is that why you're all stunned?" Those people almost spat out the food they had just eaten. Damn, it was too ugly. Pretty girl, don't take it to heart. They might have eaten too much. Come, let's eat too. Sha Wuhan was still relatively calm. After all, he was used to looking at her, so he wasn't that ugly. Those people all winked at each other, thinking that their boss most likely had a problem with his brain. Even if they found a servant, they shouldn't have found such a trash and ugly monster. They could put their ugly looks aside for now. What could they do with this little bit of elemental energy? If other hunting groups took advantage of their absence to cause trouble, she probably wouldn't even be able to save her own life, right? "Boss, although the words aren't pleasant to hear, fifth brother, I have to say something. This Jean Meili doesn't have any elemental energy at all. Can she do it?" It's fine if we usually hunt, but sometimes we have to walk for 2 or 3 days. She'll definitely follow us. But she doesn't have any spiritual energy. Won't she be a burden to us? A tall and thin man said with a look of disdain. The others also nodded. The short and fat man echoed, "Boss, let's not talk about other things. It's not that you don't know that the people living here are all people who don't care about their lives. If our sworn enemy comes here while we're not here, I'm afraid that she won't be able to save her life." Sha Wuhan glanced at Yun Chujio. Seeing that she didn't show any signs of panic, he thought to himself that Zhang Meili was quite calm. He waved his hand and said, "It's not that pretty girl is a useless person who can't cultivate. It's just that she's an orphan and has no one to teach her. Therefore, she doesn't know how to cultivate, so she should be able to cultivate very soon. Besides, she has a strong body and her movement technique is quite flexible. She hasn't been left behind by me while traveling with me these days. Even if we hunt together, she shouldn't be a burden to us. Besides, I won't hide it from you. I only give the beautiful girl 300 yuan a month. I can't find a more suitable slave for this salary." When Yun Chujio heard that she was strong, the corner of her eyes twitched. She had never thought that she would be associated with this word. She remembered that when she was traveling, Sha Yuan's speed was sometimes fast and sometimes slow. It turned out that he was testing her body and stamina. It seemed that Sha Wuhan was a rough but careful person. When those people heard that Yun Chujio's salary was only 300 yuan, they were speechless because the price was indeed too low. Moreover, she had joined voluntarily. If she really lost her life, it wouldn't be their fault. However, everyone still looked at Yun Chujio with disdain. After all, they didn't see any redeeming qualities in this Zhang Meili. It was really a waste of such a good name. He Xinzhou cursed in her heart. "You bunch of snobs. Sooner or later I'll blind you all." Just as she was cursing in her heart, the little silver snake in her sleeve writhed uneasily. "Yun Chujio, you're not my fiancé, you're my ancestor." Chapter 4282 would be a huge loss. Yun Chujio was very anxious. There were so many people here. Not to mention that it was not shameful for a pretty boy to run around. The main thing was that if people saw it, they would probably be killed. Go to the forest? Who knew if there was anyone in the forest, so she could not go. Her gaze fell on a few small wooden houses, and then she said, "Brother Sha, my stomach is a little painful. Can I go inside to rest for a while?" Sha Wuhan saw that Yun Chujio's forehead was covered in cold sweat and believed her. He pointed at a wooden house and said, "Go inside and rest for a while. I will build a wooden house for you with my brothers. It will be convenient for you to live in the future." Yun Chujio thanked Sha Wuhan and entered Sha Yuan's wooden house with her hand on her stomach. She closed the door and let Dog 2 guard the door. Only then did she let out the small silver snake. Almost at the instant she was released, a certain venerable once again put on a show. Yun Chujio was not in the mood to admire the handsome man. She lowered her voice and said, "Are you stupid? Didn't it only change at midnight every day? Why did it change at this time today?" A certain venerable felt like he was bickering in his heart. He was not willing either. He explained in a low voice, "I originally controlled the time of the breakthrough, but perhaps because the yuan qi here is a little denser than other places, the yuan qi in my dantian could not be suppressed and I accidentally made a breakthrough." Yun Chujio curled her lips. "See? Cultivating too fast won't bring you any benefits. Consolidate your foundation properly, and don't be in a hurry to achieve success." Di Baiming could not help but laugh when he heard the sourness in Yun Chujio's words. He comforted her. "Don't be anxious. Since your primordial spirit can change at will, your talent in cultivating yuan qi must be excellent. You will soon surpass mine." Yun Chujio snorted coldly, "I'm not anxious. I'm just afraid that someone will see your pot during your breakthrough. That is my property. If someone sees it, I will suffer a huge loss." Di Baiming knew that she was stubborn and did not point it out. Just as he was about to give a few more instructions, he turned into a small silver snake again. At that moment, Buttface's anxious cry came from outside the door. Yun Chujio's eyes flashed with a fierce look. She put the small silver snake into her sleeve pocket and rushed out. When Yun Chujio arrived outside, she saw that the tall and thin man, fifth and sixth, was encircling Buttface with ill intentions. Sha Wuhan and a few others were not around. They were probably going to chop wood. Fifth saw Yun Chujo come out and said with a smile, "Beautiful girl, you came out just in time. Your elemental pet is just a hybrid, a breed, a dog. It's a waste of food to keep it. Why don't you give it to everyone to satisfy their hunger?" Although the wolf-killing hunting group relied on hunting for a living, the high-level origin beasts they hunted were reluctant to eat and had to be sold. The two saw that although Dog 2 was small, its fur was shiny, and its meat looked very fresh and tender, therefore they had evil thoughts. Dog 2 was about to explode with anger. Thinking about it, Dog 2 didn't say that it could do whatever it wanted. But now it was forced by these scumbags to ask the little fairy for help. It was really embarrassing. No, it was embarrassing. Yun Chujo protected Dog 2 behind her and said coldly, "Brothers, this origin beast is my savior. Please don't think about it." Lao Wu didn't expect Yun Chujo to refuse so decisively. His face couldn't help but turn ugly. This ugly monster was just a servant, but he actually used such a tone to talk to him. He really didn't know what was good for him. Lao Wu was about to turn hostile when Sha Wuhan and the others returned. He could only glare at Yun Chujo before turning around to help. Chapter 4283 had actually followed them. Yun Chujo narrowed her eyes. This Lao Wu seemed to be very narrow-minded. He must have already hated her. She had to be more careful in the future. Sha Wuhan did not know what had happened before. He thought that the three of them were chatting. He asked with concern, "Pretty girl, are you better?" Yun Chujo nodded and said shyly, "Thank you, big brothers, for helping me build the house. I will definitely work hard in the future." Sha Wuhan and the others turned their heads in unison. There was nothing they could do. Yun Chujia's honorable and shy expression was enough for 10 people to look at for half a month. Sha Wuhan and the others built the wooden house, but Yun Chujo didn't stay idle. She cleaned the camp and washed their bowls and chopsticks. Sha Wuhan and the others saw it and thought that although Zhang Meili was ugly, she looked hardworking and not bad. While Yun Chujo was working, she looked at the people around her. From the way they were working, she could tell who was hardworking and who was cunning. That Lao Wu seemed to be busy, but in fact he was just making a lot of noise and didn't do much work. It was the same for Lao Wu, who was chasing after Buttface with him. Sha Wuhan and the other 5 people looked very honest and quickly built the wooden house. Sha Wuhan even took out some hay and spread it inside the wooden house. He said, "Pretty girl, our conditions here are limited. Just make do with it for now. When we become rich, the conditions will improve." Yun Chujo said a few polite words, and then used the excuse of cultivating to return to the wooden house. This time she didn't dare to leave Buttface outside. That 5th and 6th brother had ulterior motives, so it was better to be careful. Yun Chujo sat on the hay and let out a long breath. No matter what, she finally had a place to stay for the time being. Buttface said fiercely, "Little fairy, those 2 scumbags are really detestable. When powerful, I'll definitely bite them to death." Yun Chujo glanced at it. "Since you're so ambitious, cultivate well." Buttface narrowed his dog eyes. Did the little fairy think that he was bragging? Although he was very weak now, it would not be long before he became stronger. Seeing that Buttface was obediently cultivating at the side, Yun Chujo also sat cross-legged and began to try to draw qi into her body. She tried a few times but failed. This fellow was very frustrated. Why couldn't she do it? Previously, in the Qingxian continent, because of the strange grass and the heavenly thunder spirit root, she could not cultivate for a long time. Now, the origin energy that she cultivated here was not spirit energy. Moreover, the strange grass did not follow her. Why couldn't she cultivate? This fellow suddenly thought of a possibility, so she looked inside her dantian and saw the situation inside. This fellow almost died from anger. The guaichao shook its leaves at her in a smug manner, and the black bead beside it also trembled, and that damned great void mirror also trembled. Damn it, wasn't she in the primordial spirit state now? Why did these 3 damn things follow her? Shouldn't they be in her dantian and not come out? Why did they follow her primordial spirit to the ghost realm? Hei Shinjo felt as though she was bickering with the dog. What was going on? Yun Chujo was not thinking about the usefulness of these three things, but whether these three foodies would devour her yuan qi. If that was the case, how long would it take for her to cultivate? Her goal in coming to the ghost realm was to find the blazing red glazed tile, but she did not want to stay here for a long time. However, if she could not cultivate for a long time, not to mention obtaining the blazing red glazed tile, she would not even be able to save her life. Chapter 4284 did not know what worry was when Di Biming heard Yun Chujo cursing softly. He comforted her. Things might not be as bad as you think, although the three of them might have some negative effects, but with them you also have more life-saving means. Yun Chujo pouted and said, life-saving means? Although they are useful in Towering Sky Continent, they might be useless here. Tell me yourself, what is the use of you? After Yun Chujo asked, she saw that the three animals in her dantian had no reaction at all, and the leaves of the Guai Chao had drooped down. Damn it, she knew it. Her life was so miserable. Seeing He Xinjia's sad face, a certain someone was trying to comfort her, however. He heard Yun Chujo mumble, forget it. Since we are here, it's useless to be sad. Besides, it's worth it to see your body, my Prince Charming. A certain someone immediately decided to feed all the so-called sympathy and pity to the dogs. This little rascal never knew what it meant to be sad. The next morning, the members of the wolf-killing hunting group smelled the fragrance of the rice porridge the moment they woke up. Moreover, there was hot water for them to wash up. They immediately felt that Jean Meili was not bad. During breakfast, Old Five said unhappily, Jean Meili, your porridge is too thin. Hunting is a physical labor. Are you planning to starve us to death? Lao Lu also agreed, that's right. Boss gave you so much brown rice, but you only put so little. Are you planning to hide the brown rice? Yun Chujo didn't say anything. She just took a pot of black steamed buns from the steamer in the pot and put them on the table. Lao Wu and Lao Lu were embarrassed. They didn't notice that Yun Chujo had heated the steamed buns. If they ate it with the steamed buns, the porridge wouldn't be too thick. In order to get back at her, Lao Lu snorted. It's clear and watery. There's not even a side dish. It's horrible. Yun Chujo still didn't say anything. Instead, she brought over 2 plates of cold wild vegetables. When Lao Lu saw the wild vegetables on the plate, he immediately threw his chopsticks down. Ugly freak, did you do it on purpose? Don't you know that the bitter leaf vegetables taste very bitter? Do you think we're fools? Yun Chujo still didn't say anything. She sat down with a bowl of porridge and picked up a piece of wild vegetables to eat. In the past, this foodie would never have scoffed at such a light meal, but after eating steamed buns for a few days, she felt that such a meal was already very good. Sha Wuhan frowned and said, Lao Lu, this beautiful girl is new here. It's normal that she doesn't know the bitter leaf vegetables. With hot porridge and steamed buns, it's much better than before. Don't be picky. Sixth brother was a little embarrassed by Sha Wuhan's words. He glared at Yun Chujo before continuing to eat. Sha Wuhan was afraid that Yun Chujo would be upset. Although he knew that the bitter leaf vegetables were terrible to eat, he still picked up a chopstick to comfort her. Who would have thought that the mixed bitter leaf vegetables not only were not bitter, but also had a strange fragrance? It was unexpectedly delicious. Sha Wuhan quickly picked up another chopstick and put it in his mouth to taste it carefully. That short fatty, who was also the second brother of the hunting group, saw Sha Wuhan pick up 2 chopsticks in a row, so he curiously picked up a piece of wild vegetables as well. Then he shouted, oh my god, is this really bitter leaf vegetables? It's not bitter at all, and it's quite delicious. The others were skeptical, but after tasting it, they immediately snatched it up. Only 5th and 6th did not eat to save face. The 2 of them looked at Yun Chujo with even more unkind eyes, thinking that Yun Chujo did this on purpose, just to make them lose face. Chapter 4285 Fierce Tiger Hunting Group. Yun Chujo glanced at Old Five and Old Success expressions and sneered in her heart. You want to fight with me? You're courting death. These wild vegetables were picked by her from the edge of the forest. Although she didn't recognize them, she did recognize the Guai Chao. Before dawn, Yun Chujo was woken up by the Guai Chow. The Guai Chow was most likely hungry because it was new and didn't have any medicinal pills. It wanted to eat some medicinal herbs to make do, so it clamored to eat the grass. He Xinzhou had no choice but to wander around the edge of the forest. In the end, the Guai Chow chose this bitter leaf vegetable. He Xinzhou spat it out after eating it. It was too damn bitter. She refused to eat it no matter what. The Guai Chow had no choice but to remind Yun Chujo to blanch it with hot water before eating it. Yun Chujo tried it and found that the bitter leaf vegetable tasted pretty good after blanching the water. Therefore, she made 2 plates of cold food. While everyone was eating, a few sneers suddenly came. TSK, Boss Sha, your wolf-killing hunting group is getting worse by the day. And now you're actually eating bitter leaf vegetables. Why don't you kneel down and kowtow to beg us? Our boss might agree to let you join our fierce tiger hunting group. Yun Chujo turned around curiously and saw more than 20 men standing not far away. Their faces were full of ridicule. The person in the lead had a scar on his face and his gaze was very vicious. A pretty woman stood beside him. Sha Yuan's face immediately darkened. The other members of the wolf-killing hunting group were also angry. It was obvious that this fierce tiger hunting group was not on good terms with them. The leader of the fierce tiger hunting group, Tu Lai, hugged the woman beside him and kissed her on the face. He said with a fake smile, Sha Wuhan, what's wrong? Nguyen Lu abandoned you and you found such an ugly monster to be your lover? TSK, what a trash who can't cultivate. You're really not picky. Sha Yuan's eyes turned red. He clenched his fists and said sternly, Zhan Meili is my slave. Don't talk nonsense. Our wolf hunting squad and your fierce tiger hunting squad don't interfere with each other. Leave our camp quickly. Zhan Meili? Ha ha, I'm dying of laughter. This ugly monster is called Zhan Meili? Ugly people make trouble. It's more like Miss Nguyen Liu's name. Where did she get the courage to call her Zhan Meili? Sha Wuhan, that coward, could only find such an ugly monster. After all, the wolf hunting squad is a bunch of trash. Sha Wuhan and the wolf hunting squad's eyes were about to pop out of their sockets. The short fatty and the others wanted to go up and fight for their lives, but Sha Wuhan stopped them. There was a huge difference in strength between them and the fierce tiger hunting squad. If they acted rashly, they would only fall into their trap. Tu Lai saw that Sha Wuhan had no intention of making a move. He curled his lips and said, Boss Sha, fine. You really can endure it. There's only half a month left before you have to pay the bounty. If you guys delay this time, TSK, you'll only be chased out of the thorn forest. Sha Wuhan said coldly, you don't have to worry. We naturally have a way. Tu Lai curled his lips and said, you stubborn duck. Don't blame me for not being loyal. As long as you hand over that thing, it'll help you pay the bounty. What do you think? Sha Wuhan said coldly, I don't understand what you're saying. Tu Lai was a little angry from embarrassment. He said arrogantly, all right, I want to see how long you can hold on. If any of you want to join me, Tu Lai, I'll welcome you at any time. It's better to follow me and enjoy a good meal than to eat wild vegetables with Sha Wuhan. Chapter 4286 was still as blind as ever. The short fatty and the others scoffed at Tu Lai's words. However, Old Five and Old X's eyes flickered a few times. Others did not notice, but He Xinzhou did. He Xinzhou sneered in her heart. Was he planning to climb up the ladder? The fierce tiger hunting group left with wild laughter. The camp was dead silent. The short fatty gritted his teeth and said, Boss, why did you stop me just now? That bastard Tu Lai needs to be taught a lesson. Not only did he steal your woman, he even humiliated us. Second brother, stop talking. The gentle-looking third brother interrupted the short fatty's words. Big brother is doing this for our own good. There are only 8 of us, and the fierce tiger hunting squad has over 20 people. If we really fight, we will be the ones at a disadvantage. The short fatty wanted to say more, but Old Five suddenly asked, Boss, there is still half a month before we have to pay the human head fee. What do you plan to do? Sha Wuhan revealed a difficult expression. He sighed and said, each of us has 5,000 human head fee, so the 8 of us will get 40,000 low-grade yuan coins. I only have 20,000 low-grade yuan coins here. If we work hard, we will still be able to gather enough. It's just that after we pay the human head fee, our days will be tight again. Old Six snappily said. Aren't our days always tight? Other hunting groups drink wine and eat meat, but what about us? Every meal is like a steamed bun. Boss, what exactly does that Tulai want? Just give it to him. Otherwise, if he keeps teaming up with other hunting groups to ostracize us, we can only hunt 3rd and 4th rank origin beasts that are not worth much. Xiao Yuan's expression immediately sank. He stared at 6th brother and said, if you feel that following me isn't satisfactory, you can go and seek refuge with the other hunting groups. I won't stop you. 5th brother glared at 6th brother and said, Big brother, don't be angry. 6th brother didn't mean that. He's also anxious because of the head fee. The short fatty also tried to mediate the situation. Right, big brother, don't take it to heart. 20,000 low-grade yuan isn't a particularly large amount. If we're lucky, we can hunt a few 5th and 6th rank origin beasts. 6th brother also said a few words saying that he didn't mean anything by it. Xiao Yuan's expression was cold. He said indifferently, it's getting late. Let's go hunt first. The others saw this and didn't say anything else. They could only set off to hunt. Before leaving, Xiao Wuhan told Yun Chuzhou not to leave the camp and to pay attention to safety. Yun Chuzhou nodded and agreed. She watched Xiao Wuhan and the others enter the thorny forest. This guy sat on the chair and stuffed hot water-boiled bitter leaf vegetables into his mouth one after another. He couldn't help it. He wouldn't stop until he fed the damn Guai Chow. Moreover, He Xinjiu still had a trace of luck. Perhaps after she fed the Guai Chow to its full, she would be able to channel her qi into her body. The slaves from the other camps gathered in groups of 3 to 5 and pointed at Yun Chuzhou. Yun Chuzhou pretended not to see or hear anything and continued to stuff her mouth. When she had almost finished eating, Yun Chuzhou went to the edge of the forest to continue picking the bitter leaf vegetables. Unexpectedly, Nguan Lu twisted her waist and walked up to her. Ugly freak, you are really good at making Xiao Wuhan fall for you. Yun Chuzhou ignored her and continued picking the bitter leaf vegetables. Nguan Lu said impatiently, ugly freak, didn't you hear me talking to you? Are you deaf? Yun Chuzhou saw that she wouldn't stop, so she could only stand up and say coldly, then how should I answer you? Should I admit that I'm good at it, or should I admit that Xiao Wuhan is still so blind? Yun Chuzhou emphasized on still as blind as before. Nguan Lu was stunned at first, then she understood that Yun Chuzhou was mocking her. She said angrily, ugly freak, you're courting death. Chapter 4287 I won't kill you. Yun Chuzhou narrowed her eyes. If she worked together with Buttface and the small silver snake, it wouldn't be difficult to kill Nguan Lu. However, if she was killed, she would provoke the fierce tiger hunting group. She had just arrived, so it was better for her to keep a low profile. She felt that since the fierce tiger hunting group didn't attack directly this morning, they must be afraid. Thinking of this, she said to Nguan Lu, if you are not afraid of Tu Lai coming back to punish you, you can continue to tangle with me. I don't care anyway. Nguan Liu's expression changed. She seemed to have thought of something and snorted coldly, ugly monster, sooner or later, you will fall into my hands. Let's wait and see. Dog 2 eagerly went to Yun Chuzhou's side and said, little fairy, why have you been so abnormal these 2 days? If it were in the past, you would have already cleaned up these dregs. The corners of Yun Chuzhou's mouth curled up. There's no other way. I'm not strong enough now. Take it slow. There's no rush. Buttface saw the sinister smile on Yun Chuzhou's face. He lit a candle for the fierce tiger hunting group, Old 5 and Old 6. He actually dared to offend the little fairy? I can't trick you to death. At this time, Silver said in a low voice, little Joe, it just so happens that those people aren't here. Let me out. I'll use this time to make a breakthrough. Yun Chuzhou said sourly, Tiske, as expected of a person with a seal. A breakthrough every day. Truly amazing. Di Biming could not help but laugh when he heard her say this. He did not tell her that his elemental energy level had already reached the 6th level of the origin core realm. Yun Chuzhou placed the small silver snake inside the wooden house. Although her lust was stirring, she was afraid that someone would come and cause trouble, so she could only reluctantly stand guard outside the wooden house. Thinking of the perfect body of a certain Guai Chao, this fellow hated Guai Chao. She originally thought that this time she was in the immortal soul state. Without Guai Chao as a jinx, she might be able to come to Kuei. It was not impossible for her to work hard to get a little bean out. Who would have thought that this damn dogtail would actually follow her? She was so angry. This was because he couldn't bear to see her doing well. After this fellow cursed the Guai Chao a few hundred times, his lecherous heart was mischievous. He crouched at the gap of the wooden house and did not look inside. Who would have thought that he would be noticed by a certain someone inside? With a wave of his hand, He Shinjo fell down a fart. He Shinjo was so angry. Was he bullying her because she did not have elemental energy? She did not believe that such a talented genius like her would always be so useless. Pretty boy, let's wait and see. The more she thought about it, the angrier she got. She sat down cross-legged and tried to draw chi into her body, but she still got nothing. At night, Sha Wuhan and the others came back dejectedly. Yun Chujo didn't need to ask to know that it must be because she didn't get much today. After Yun Chujo arranged the dinner, the sixth brother threw the bowl hard. Junmeili, don't you know how to make anything other than steamed buns? What a good-for-nothing. Yun Chujo didn't say anything, but she cursed in her heart. Fuck, you can't die from being struck by lightning. Boom! A purple lightning bolt fell from the sky and struck sixth brother. Sixth brother was knocked out, and black smoke was still coming out of his body. Hey Shinjo! Did her jinx skill work again? Was sixth brother so vulnerable? Just as Hey Shinjo was in a daze, she saw Sha Wuhan and the rest kneeling on the ground. Hey Shinjo didn't understand and was afraid that something was wrong, so she quickly knelt on the ground as well. She stole a glance and saw that the people from the other camps were also kneeling on the ground. Oh my, what's going on? Chapter 4288. Ghost Ancestor. Just as He Shinjo was thinking about it, she saw Sha Wuhan and the rest kowtowing. After kowtowing 3 times each, they stood up and went to treat sixth brother, who was still emitting black smoke. He Shinjo was confused, but she could not ask directly. Sixth brother woke up very quickly, but he spat out a mouthful of blood. He Shinjo was secretly happy. He deserved it. He deserved it. Sha Wuhan frowned and said in a deep voice, Old Six, have you been disrespectful to the ghost ancestor recently? Otherwise, why did you get struck by the heavenly lightning? Old Six said angrily, Big brother, am not an ignorant child. How could I be disrespectful to the ghost ancestor? In my opinion, it must be the bad luck brought by Junmeili. She's a jinx, otherwise how could I have been struck by lightning? Yun Chujo said faintly, Brother Six, you are wrong. If I were a jinx, the heavenly lightning should have struck me. Why would it strike you? Old Six spat out another mouthful of blood after hearing Yun Chuji's words. He almost fainted from anger. Sha Wuhan frowned, alright, stop talking. Help Old Six into the house to rest. Everyone helped fifth brother into the wooden house. Although he spat out 2 mouthfuls of blood, it was not a big problem. Just looked more tragic. Sha Wuhan and the others settled sixth brother in. Just as they were about to finish eating, Tu Lai came over with a few others. Sha Wuhan tsk. Even the ghost ancestor can't stand it. Hurry up and hand over that thing, or you'll all be struck by lightning, Tu Lai said arrogantly. Sha Wuhan said coldly, Tu Lai, I've told you before. I have no idea what you're talking about. If you continue to be so aggressive, the 2 of us will activate the ghost contract and fight to the death. Tu Lai's expression suddenly became a little ugly. He said with a fierce expression, Sha Wuhan, good, very good. I'll see how long you can keep your mouth shut. After Tu Lai finished speaking, he left with his men. Everyone was in no mood to eat. After a few quick bites, they put down their chopsticks. Yun Chujo tidied up as she communicated with Buttface with her divine sense. What does the ghost ancestor and the ghost contract mean? Buttface shook his head and explained with his tail wagging. It's rumored that the ghost ancestor is a group of ghosts that cannot enter the reincarnation cycle. Their original destination was to have their souls scattered. However, they met a mysterious person and placed them here. When the ghosts saw that they had regained their bodies, they were ecstatic. However, when they came back to their senses, they realized that the mysterious person was nowhere to be found. They did not even know if it was a man or a woman, so they addressed him as the ghost ancestor. As for the ghost contract, the two of them activated the ghost contract in their bodies. Then, the two of them fought until one of them died. That was the end. No one was allowed to help. Yun Chujo frowned. That's not right. Didn't Prince Charming say that the Ghost Clan got their name because of the misunderstanding of the world? Why does it sound like they were originally called the Ghost Clan? Buttface said weakly, "What Your Excellency said is just a rumor." I didn't dare to refute him. Yun Chujo pursed her lips. She was clearly the master, but these foodies were more afraid of the gigolo. What the hell? Yun Chujo suddenly remembered something and could not help but want to bang her head against the wall in frustration. Yuan Shun could break away from the physical body here and live like a normal person. It would be great if she could bring those remnant souls over. Then, they would be able to live like normal people. Chapter 4289 Spirit Soul. Although Yun Chujo was annoyed, there was nothing she could do. She asked again, "You said that you activated the ghost contract in their bodies. What the hell is that?" It said that before the ghosts were placed, the ghost ancestor left a soul imprint in their bodies. Although the ghost clan has been reproducing for so many years, they still have the soul imprint of the ghost ancestor in their bodies. However, it's getting weaker and weaker. Activating the soul imprint of the ghost ancestor is equivalent to swearing in front of the ghost ancestor. The ghost clansmen are very respectful to the ghost ancestor, so they naturally don't dare to break the agreement, explained Buttface. Yun Chujo nodded. If that's the case, then the ghost ancestor saved those ghosts for another reason. Otherwise, why would he leave a soul imprint in their bodies? Dog 2 said hesitantly, that might not be the case. Anyway, so much time has passed, and that ghost ancestor has never appeared. Moreover, that soul imprint has an important effect. What effect? Yun Chujo raised her eyebrows. After the ghost clansman's essence energy reaches the 9th layer of the origin realm, they can summon spirit souls to help them in battle. Spirit souls can be beast spirits or plant spirits, and this is said to be because of the ghost ancestor's imprint. Yun Chujo was stunned. There's such an effect? Then, Prince Charming and I don't have the ghost ancestor's mark. If we cultivate to the 9th level of the origin realm, won't we be unable to summon spirit souls? Buttface thought to himself, you haven't even managed to draw in chi into your body yet, and you're still thinking about spirit souls? You really think far ahead. But this fellow was only thinking in his heart. He didn't dare to say it out loud. Little fairy, because the ghost clan's mark is getting weaker and weaker. Not everyone in the ghost clan can summon spirit souls when they reach the 9th level of the origin realm. So even if you and your esteemed self can't summon spirit souls, it's not a big deal. Yun Chujo thought about it and agreed. To put it bluntly, this spirit soul was a helper. It did not matter whether it was there or not. Moreover, her priority now was to draw chi into her body. Other matters could be discussed later. However, she did not know what good thing Sha Wuhan had that Tu Lai coveted. However, Sha Wuhan was only a lowly commoner with low elemental energy. He probably did not have anything extraordinary. Tu Lai had not robbed Sha Wuhan openly. He was most likely afraid that Sha Wuhan would destroy that thing, so he used methods to force Sha Wuhan. In the next few days, Sha Wuhan and the rest did not manage to hunt any elemental beasts that they were satisfied with, and the date of paying the human head fee was getting closer and closer. The atmosphere in the camp became more and more stagnant. If they were driven out of Thorn Forest, then they could only go to the wilderness to hunt low-level elemental beasts like the saber-toothed gophers. Their days would be very difficult. Big brother, the day after tomorrow is the day we have to pay the human head fee. Unless we can hunt 2 Type 6 origin beasts tomorrow, we won't be able to raise the human head fee. The short fatty said with a frown. Sha Wuhan frowned and gritted his teeth. If we still can't raise the human head fee tomorrow, you guys can join other hunting groups. Your skills are not bad, they will definitely be looking forward to it. When everyone heard this, they immediately said, Big brother, what are you saying? Our lives were saved by you. Wherever you go, we will go. How can there be a reason to separate? That's right. We were born to be members of the wolf hunting group. If we die, we are ghosts of the wolf hunting group. How can we abandon you, big brother? Yun Chujo secretly pursed her lips. You guys are ghosts, alright? However, according to Buttface, if the ghosts died, their souls would be scattered, and they would not even have the chance to reincarnate. This was not even comparable to humans. Chapter 4290. The little silver snake went missing. When Sha Wuhan heard everyone say this, his eyes turned slightly red and he said in a hoarse voice, Good, good. I, Sha Wuhan, am really lucky to have a bunch of brothers like you. Tomorrow we'll take a gamble. It'll distract the fierce tiger hunting group while you guys go inside to hunt. We'll definitely be able to get through this crisis. Although everyone felt that the plan to kill Sha Wuhan was a little risky, they had no other choice but to take the risk. Yun Chujo noticed that Old 5 and Old 6 exchanged a glance. Her heart stirred. Could it be that these two scumbags wanted to do something bad? Hei Xinjia's eyes flickered. She did not have elemental energy now. If something happened to the wolf hunting squad, she would really have nowhere to go. Hence, she could not just watch Old 5 and Old 6 succeed. Hence, when everyone entered the wooden house to rest, Yun Chujo left Little Snake and Buttface in the wooden house. She transformed into a commonly seen abdominal pattern black ant and sneaked into the wooden house that Old 5 and Old 6 shared. Old 5 lowered his voice and said, Old 6, I've already found an opportunity to tell Tulai the news. Tomorrow, the two of us and the fierce tiger hunting squad will work together to control the others. Sha Wuhan can only use that thing to exchange for it. By then, we can be considered to have a firm foothold in the fierce tiger hunting squad. Fifth brother, alright, I'll listen to you. I've had enough of this for a long time. Other hunting groups have big bowls of wine and big chunks of meat, and there are women playing with them. But what about us? Eating steamed buns and eating porridge every day. It's not easy for a woman to come here, and she's so fucking ugly. Just looking at her makes me sick to my stomach, Old 6 cursed. The two of them then discussed some specific matters. Yun Chujo sneered in her heart. Tomorrow, she would let these two ingrates show their true colors. Just as Yun Chujo was about to continue listening to what the two of them were saying, Dog 2's terrified voice came from her divine sense. Little fairy, come back quickly. The venerable one has disappeared. Yun Chujo was startled. What did he mean by the venerable one had disappeared? She quickly crawled back to her wooden house and saw that only Dog 2 was left in the wooden house. The small silver snake had disappeared without a trace. Buttface did not wait for Yun Chujo to return to her human form as he anxiously said, Little fairy, after you left, His Excellency said that he could no longer suppress the elemental energy in his body and asked me to protect him. Naturally, I did not dare to refuse. Who would have thought that His Excellency would suddenly disappear in front of me after sitting cross-legged and meditating for a while? Yun Chujia's head buzzed. However, she quickly forced herself to calm down and asked Buttface about the incident again. She frowned. There were no signs of an attack, and the gigolo didn't show any signs of struggling. How could he suddenly disappear? Buttface was anxious and afraid. He was afraid that Yun Chujo would blame him. His eyes kept rolling. Suddenly, his eyes lit up and he asked, Little fairy, what level is your excellency at now? Yun Chujo didn't know why Buttface suddenly asked such a question, but she still said, it was the 8th level of the Yuanshu realm before. Why are you asking this? Buttface quickly said, if it was the 8th layer of the Yuan dynasty, then this breakthrough should have reached the 9th layer of the Yuan dynasty. And once you reach the 9th layer of the Yuan dynasty, you can summon a spirit soul. Your excellency might have gone to choose a spirit soul. Yun Chujo was so angry that she wanted to strangle Buttface to death. You idiot! The gigolo doesn't even have the mark of the ghost ancestor. Summon my ass. And you want to choose a spirit soul? Do you think that summoning a spirit soul is to buy cabbage at the market? Chapter 4291 was heartbroken. Buttface said aggrievedly, "Little fairy, you only know one thing, but you don't know the other. Although the Venerable One doesn't have the Ghost Clan's mark, he used to be the Yin Clan Shangzun. The Yin Clan, the Ghost Clan, and the Demon Clan all have some similarities, so it's not strange that the Venerable One can summon spirit souls. Although most spirit souls can be directly summoned by the Ghost Clan, there are some spirit souls whose bodies are bound and need to be summoned to claim them personally. Since the Venerable One is so awesome, perhaps the spirit souls chosen by him are very special. That's why he brought Your Excellency in." Yun Chuzhou was skeptical. She stared at Buttface's eyes for a long time and only believed him when she saw that he did not look guilty at all. If what Buttface said was true, it could explain why the pretty boy disappeared into thin air. Where do the spirit souls live? Buttface looked confused. Then I don't know. The spirit souls that are summoned can only stay in the host's spiritual sense and cannot go back. Moreover, no one has ever learned from the spirit souls where they came from. Yun Chuzhou sat on the hay. If the pretty boy had really gone to the place where the spirit souls were, all she could do was to cultivate to the 9th level of the origin realm as soon as possible. Perhaps she might have a chance to go there to look for the pretty boy. Of course, the pretty boy might soon come out with the spirit souls. Thinking of this, her originally nervous mood eased a little. She recalled that Biming had told her several times that he wouldn't die. At first, she thought that he was comforting her, but later, she realized that Biming was extremely serious. "Little Joe, no matter when, where, or what the situation is, you have to believe me. I want die." Yun Chuzhou thought of what Tower Master Luochen had said to her. What if everyone wants him to die? Her heart ached. Although she didn't know Biming's true identity, she was certain that Tian Dao, or more accurately, the human heart, wouldn't allow such an immortal person to exist. Therefore, he must have suffered an unimaginable calamity before, and he must have also suffered inhuman torture. Buttface saw Yun Chuzhou's face instantly filled with tears, and he couldn't help but panic. That little fairy, don't be sad. Your Holiness will be fine. Don't worry, Your Holiness has left. From now on Buttface will protect you. I guarantee that no one will bully you. Yun Chuzhou's heart, which was so painful that it was difficult to express, eased up a little after being interrupted by Buttface. She asked, "Is there any way to forcefully draw qi into your body?" Initially, although she was anxious, she was not too anxious. However, she had to reach the 9th layer of the origin realm as soon as possible. Only then could she find the missing Biming. Buttface hesitated for a moment, gritted his teeth and said, "It's not that there's no way. It's just that the risk is a little high. Little fairy, are you sure you want to try?" Yun Chuzhou did not say anything. However, when Buttface saw her determined gaze, he knew that she had already made up her mind. It could only continue. "I heard that when some ghost clans are on the verge of death, the elemental energy in their bodies will soar. They can even successfully summon people who originally could not summon spirit souls. This is just a rumor. I don't know if it can be trusted." Yun Chuzhou rolled her eyes speechlessly. Only a fool would do this. She reckoned that before her potential was fully unleashed, she would die first. Besides, she was a human and not a member of the Ghost Clan. Would this method work? However, she thought of Biming, who had disappeared without a trace. She gritted her teeth. Should she give it a try? Chapter 4292. The existence of awesomeness enlightening. Yun Chuzhou glanced around the room. There was a kitchen knife in the corner. Yun Chuzhou had put it in the room for self-defense. She walked over, picked up the kitchen knife and pointed it at her neck a few times, but she didn't do it. In the end, she threw the kitchen knife to Buttface. "Buttface, you do it." Buttface shivered. "Little fairy, I don't dare." "You piece of trash. Hurry up. If you don't chop me, I'll chop off your dog head." Hei Shinjo said fiercely. Buttface had no choice but to pick up the kitchen knife with his claws. He gritted his teeth and cut a shallow wound on Yun Chuzhou's neck. Then Buttface was stunned to see the wound disappear in an instant. Yun Chuzhou saw Dog 2's stunned face and scolded angrily. "What are you still standing there for? Row." Little fairy, I row, but, Dog 2 was a little shocked, so it stuttered and didn't know what to say. It picked up the kitchen knife with a trembling hand and cut Yoon Chuji's neck again. Then it saw the wound disappear in an instant as if nothing had happened. Its dog eyes were wide open. Then it seemed to have thought of something. It threw the kitchen knife on the ground and its eyes lit up. Little fairy, you are awesome this time. You are so awesome that you are not human. Yoon Chuju. Just as she was about to teach Buttface a lesson, she heard Buttface say excitedly, "Little fairy, you are an old fart. Speak human language." Yoon Chujo was so angry that she wanted to strangle this idiot to death. But Face was really too excited. He shook his head and wagged his tail as he said, "Little fairy, you can change at will. So whether it's getting injured or cutting off your head, it doesn't hurt you at all. You're simply an awesome and lightning existence in this ghost realm. You are not afraid of death at all. In other words, you can't die at all." Yoon Chujo opened her mouth wide and then jumped up. Yes, she could change her body at will. There was no question of whether she would die or not. She was simply begging for food with a treasure bowl. She was so stupid. She was actually afraid of this and that. What was there to be afraid of? She wasn't even afraid of death, so what was there to be afraid of? If this fellow wasn't afraid of being heard by others, she would have laughed out loud 3 times. With this heaven-defying skill, what was there to be afraid of? However, she still felt that she shouldn't be too smug in her excitement. After all, she didn't know much about the ghost realm. Although she could change her body at will, she could also turn her body into several light spots. However, if someone in the ghost realm knew of some evil method that could trap her or kill the light spots, she would have nowhere to cry. Therefore, although this skill was heaven-defying, she couldn't use it as she had no other choice. Now the problem came. Although she had discovered a heaven-defying skill of her own, if she didn't have elemental energy, even if others couldn't kill her, she couldn't kill them either. Therefore, she still had to think of a way to cultivate. Yoon Chujo calmed down a little. She felt that listening to Dog 2's method previously was simply stupid. In times of danger, it could indeed stimulate one's potential. However, out of 10,000, perhaps only one could stimulate one's potential. The remaining 9,999 were all dead. She had also been desperate and had lost her rationality. Fortunately, her constitution was special. Otherwise, she would have died just like that. She was simply a laughingstock. Chapter 4293 had finally succeeded. Dog 2 also knew that it had come up with a bad idea just now. It was afraid that Yoon Chujo would settle the score later. It rolled its eyes and said, "Little fairy, I think that you can't cultivate. The problem must be those 3 freeloaders. You still have to start with them." This fellow thought that if he died, his fellow Taoists would not die. No matter what, he had to throw the blame out first. Yoon Chujo didn't have the time to settle the score with Dog 2. She also felt that she couldn't cultivate. The root of the problem was still Guai Chao and the other 2. She forced herself to regain her usual calmness and sorted out the recent events. Only then did she look inside her dantian. Guai Chao immediately swayed its leaves to flatter her. Yoon Chujo said coldly, "The gigolo is missing now. You should know how important the gigolo is to me, so I don't have time to waste with you. If you don't want to fight to the death, then restrain yourself and let me cultivate normally. Since you followed me here, you must have something to ask. I promise you, as long as I can cultivate normally, I will help you achieve your wish." Guai Chao stopped swaying, but the Great Void Mirror and the Black Bead did not have any reaction. Yoon Chujo did not urge them. After a moment, the Great Void Mirror and the Black Bead finally trembled slightly. Guai Chao also shook its leaves. Yoon Chujo knew that they had compromised. It was not that she did not think of pressuring the 3 of them to eat their fill for free, but firstly, she did not have full confidence. She was afraid that it would backfire. Secondly, because of the small silver snake, she did not feel a sense of urgency. She wanted to feed the Guai Chao until it was full. She should be able to cultivate. She had to admit that humans were dependent. No matter how strong He Shinjo was and how independent she was, with Di Biming by her side, she unknowingly had a backbone. Hence, she was a little lazy. After Yoon Chujo convinced the 3 freeloaders to eat their fill, She immediately sat cross-legged and meditated. In an instant, Yuan Qi entered Yun Chujia's body and entered her dantian along her meridians. However, the three Guai Chao did not devour her like how they devoured the power of lightning. Instead, they did not move at all as if they despised her. Yun Chujia's heart moved. No wonder they did not allow her to cultivate previously. Seemed like they did not like this Yuan Qi. She thought about it. If her Yuan power increased, then after returning to her main body, her Yuan Shun would become stronger. Could it be that as her Yuan Shun became stronger, it was possible to expel the Guai Chao and the others from her dantian? Was that why they stopped her from cultivating Yuan power? The more Yun Chujiu thought about it, the more she felt that this guess was reliable. She could not help but become excited. Putting everything else aside, as long as she expelled the Guai Chao from her dantian, she would be able to have sex with a gigolo and give birth to a monkey. Because of this motivation, He Xinjiu spent the entire night cultivating and broke through one after another, directly rising to the third level of the Yuanchu realm. Although Yun Chujiu was very happy, she had suddenly become the third level of the Yuanchu realm. How was she going to explain it to everyone? If only she could display her elemental energy level as the first level of the Yuanchu realm. Just as Yun Chujiu was thinking about it, Butt Face exclaimed, "Little fairy, why has your elemental energy level become the first level of the Yuanchu realm?" Yun Chujiu was stunned at first. Then with a thought, Dog Tu said in surprise, your elemental energy level has become the second level of the origin core realm again." Yun Chujiu was simply overjoyed. So she could freely adjust her elemental energy level, but she could only keep a low profile but not high profile. But it was not bad, at least she could be used to pretend to be a pig to eat a tiger. Dog 2 felt that this little girl in front of it was simply a monster. It then thought of Old 5 and Old 6's plans that Yun Chujiu overheard, and lit a candle in its heart for them. There was a good show to watch. Chapter 4294. Scheming Dog 2. Yun Chujiu adjusted her elemental energy level to the first layer of the origin core realm. Out of habit, she reached into her sleeve pocket, wanting to tease the little silver snake. However, her hand was empty. Only then did she remember that the little silver snake had disappeared. Yun Chujiu's originally happy smile instantly dimmed. A moment later, she braced herself and left the wooden house, starting to prepare breakfast. While Yun Chujiu was cooking porridge, she suddenly thought of something. Her gaze landed on Buttface, who was currently having fun. "Buttface, what's your elemental energy level now?" Buttface blinked his dog eyes, but he still did not dare to lie. He said weakly, "No, not much. It's only at the 7th rank." Yun Chujiu snorted coldly. "Looks like you also have a way to hide your elemental energy level, right?" Seeing that Dog 2 did not utter a word, Yun Chujiu knew that this fellow had tacitly agreed. She had discovered that this scheming dog was really scheming. If she did not suddenly feel that something was amiss, she would really have thought that it was still at level 3. The reason why Yun Chujiu felt that something was amiss was because she felt that she could break through to level 3 in one night. Dog 2 was an ancient fierce beast, and it had come to the ghost domain before. There was no reason that it had not broken through even after so many days. Yun Chujiu ignored Dog 2 and continued to prepare breakfast. Dog 2 sneakily glanced at Yun Chujiu. Seeing that she had no intention of settling the score later, it heaved a sigh of relief. It had no other choice. If others saw it cultivating so quickly, they would definitely suspect it. As today was the last day to raise the human head fee, the members of the wolf-killing hunting group also woke up very early. With a glance, the short fatty saw that not only was there elemental energy undulations on Yun Chujiu's body, she was actually already at the first level of the Yuanchu realm. He could not help but exclaim in surprise, "Pretty girl, you've successfully induced qi into your body?" Yun Chujiu's square-headed face revealed an excited and somewhat shy smile. "Yes, I suddenly succeeded last night." When the short and fat man saw Yun Chujiu's honor, the corners of his mouth twitched. Fortunately, he was already used to it. Otherwise, he probably would not have wanted to eat breakfast. When Sha Wuhan and the others heard the short and fat man's words, their gazes also landed on Yun Chujiu. They all came over to congratulate her. Lao Wu and Lao Lu looked at each other. They thought to themselves, so what if she channeled qi into her body? This ugly freak had previously offended them. After she dealt with Sha Wuhan and the others, she would come back and kill her. During breakfast, Yun Chujo said to Sha Wuhan, "Brother Sha, I'll go hunting with you later." Before Sha Wuhan could say anything, the short fatty said, "Pretty girl, although you're now at the first layer of the Yuanchu realm, you're still too weak. You'd better take care of the house." Yun Chujo sighed and said, "Tomorrow is the last day to pay the head fee. Today is very crucial. With more people we can always have more help, right? Although my elemental energy is low, my body is strong. Maybe I can help." The short and fat man sneered and said, "Pretty girl, it's not that my words are unpleasant. No matter how strong your body is, it can't make up for the difference in elemental energy. If you follow us, you will be our burden instead." The others also echoed one after another. On the contrary, Old 5 and Old 6, who usually did not get along well with Yun Chujo, did not say anything. The two of them could not wait for Yun Chujo to follow them. When the time came, they would directly kill her, which would save them a lot of trouble. In the end, Sha Wuhan made the final decision. "Pretty girl, we appreciate your kindness, but considering that you have just reached the first layer of Yuanchu, you should stay in the camp." Hearing that, Yun Chujo did not say anything more. Anyway, she had a way to follow them even if they did not let her go. Chapter 4295 was followed by a string of poisonous stinger ghost bees after breakfast. Sha Wuhan and the others got up and left. Yun Chujo said to Buttface, "Find a place to hide. I'll follow you to take a look." Ever since Buttface knew that Hei Shinjo was an invincible existence, he was not worried about her safety at all. He said eagerly, "Little fairy, don't worry. Although I'm not as powerful as you, I can still save my life." Yun Chujo believed what Buttface said. This guy was so scheming that he definitely had a way to save his life. After observing for a few days, Yun Chujo found that poisonous stinger ghost bees often appeared at the edge of the thorny forest. According to Short Fatty, the poisonous stinger ghost bee was only a rank 1 origin bug and was not worth much. Moreover, its stinger was poisonous. No one in the hunting group would hunt poisonous stinger ghost bees. Therefore, Yun Chujo transformed into a ghost wasp and flew towards the thorny forest. However, this guy had never transformed into a winged one before. Therefore, he flew unsteadily as if he would fall at any moment. Buttface could not bear to look at him. He was very suspicious. He reckoned that Sha Wuhan and the others were already killed before she reached her destination. Hei Shinjo flew unsteadily for a while, and finally flew in a decent manner. This guy thought to himself that there was actually no benefit to having wings. It was quite tiring to fly. The wings had to be flapped continuously. It was very tiring. On the way, she met a few of her own kind. The poisonous stinger ghost bees looked at Yun Chujo curiously and followed behind Hei Shinjo. Hei Shinjo felt like she was cursing a dog in her heart. Was there something wrong with these poisonous stinger ghost bees? Wasn't it better to fly separately? Why did they have to follow her? How could she know that although these poisonous stinger ghost bees lived in groups, they were different from other bees? There was not only one queen in each group, but also many female bees. Even so, the number of female bees was much less than that of male bees. The poisonous stinger ghost bee that Hei Shinjo had coincidentally transformed into was a female bee. Hei Shinjo looked at the string of poisonous stinger ghost bees following behind her, and was so angry that she was twitching. She wanted to do something bad. How could she do something bad secretly by following a string of poisonous stinger ghost bees? However, this fellow rolled his eyes. Although these poisonous stinger ghost bees were very annoying, they might be able to help her. After Sha Wuhan and the others entered the thorny forest, they wanted to continue hunting for origin beasts above Tier 5. As expected, they were stopped by 2 fierce tiger hunting squad members. The 2 of them said with a fake smile, "Stop. The front isn't a place you can go. Don't look for trouble." Sha Wuhan said with a sullen face, "Bring me to Tu Lai. I have something to say to him." The two of them looked at each other before saying, "Seems like you've thought it through? Let's go then." When the short fatty and the rest saw that the two of them had left with Sha Wuhan, they could not help but feel delighted. They had thought that it would be very troublesome, but they had not expected things to go so smoothly. They checked their surroundings, but there were no other fierce tiger hunting group members around. They immediately headed towards the depths of Thorn Forest. Old Five revealed a cold smile. A bunch of idiots. The short fatty and the rest quickly encountered a Type 6 scarlet-eyed savage bear. Everyone was overjoyed. Due to its huge size, the price of a scarlet-eyed savage bear was higher than an ordinary Type 6 origin beast. If they killed it, they could basically raise enough money to pay the human head fee. After a bitter battle, they finally killed the scarlet-eyed savage bear. Before they could react, Fifth Brother put the red-eyed savage bear into his storage ring. The short fatty and the others didn't pay much attention to it. In any case, Fifth Brother had been keeping all the prey for the past few days. Chapter 4296. Swarm Attack. Old Five and Old Six exchanged a look and then whistled. Stumpy said in puzzlement, "Old Five, why are you whistling when you have nothing to do? We're exhausted now, and it would be bad if we attract other origin beasts or other hunting groups." Old Five smiled lightly and did not reply. Stumpy felt that Old Five was strange today. Just as he was about to say something, he saw more than 10 fierce tiger hunting group members surrounding them with malicious intentions. Short Fatty and the others hurriedly stood up. Before they could ask what these people wanted to do, Old Five and Old Six suddenly attacked. Short Fatty, who was closest to the two of them, was the first to bear the brunt and was controlled by the two of them. During the hunting process just now, Old Five and Old Six did not put in any effort. Hence, their elemental energy and physical strength were much more abundant than Short Fatty and the others. Although the remaining four struggled with all their might, they were still tied up by the fierce tiger hunting squad with ropes in the end. Short Fatty looked at Old Five and Old Six and was simply unable to contain his anger. "Old Five, Old Six, what do you mean by this?" Old Six curled his lips. "What do you mean? Don't you understand even now? You're really as stupid as Sha Wuhan. Do you know why Brother Five kept all his prey in his storage ring? Just to trick you, a bunch of idiots. You deserve to be implicated by Sha Wuhan." The short fatty was simply aggrieved. He glared at Old Five and Old Six with red eyes. "Your lives were saved by Brother. But now you're colluding with the fierce tiger hunting group. Do you still have the right to call people?" Old Six looked a little embarrassed. Old Five said with a sneer, "Anyone can say that. But in this world, survival is the most important thing. Moreover, we don't want to kill Sha Yuan's life. As long as he obediently hand over the thing, I believe that Commander 2 won't take his life." "Bullshit. It's clearly you guys who are afraid of death. Yet you still say such high-sounding words. We're really blind. We still treat you guys as brothers." The short fatty cursed angrily. The short fat man and the others felt that they were doomed today. They originally thought that the plan was very smooth, but they didn't expect that the other party would play along. Even if Boss Sha wasn't killed by the other party would still use their lives to threaten Boss Sha. Even if Boss Sha handed over the things, Tu Lai probably wouldn't let them off. At this time, dozens of poisonous stinger ghost bees flew towards a fierce tiger hunting group member. One of the poisonous stinger ghost bees had a crafty look in its small eyes as it rushed towards that person's eyes. The person didn't expect that these first-rank ghost wasps would dare to provoke a cultivator. He cried out in pain, "My eyes! It hurts so much! Save me!" The others were also shocked, but they didn't pay too much attention to it. It was just a first-rank demonic insect. With a wave of their hands, these ghost wasps would all die. What surprised them was that these ghost wasps were very smart. Once they attacked, they would fly into the air. They could only stare and couldn't do anything to hurt them. However, once they stopped, they would fly over and launch a sneak attack, making everyone very passive. However, as time passed, the ghost wasps fell into a disadvantage. A few of them were swept by the wind of their palms and turned into meat paste. No one noticed that one of the stinger wasps that had been flattened once again flew up with a buzzing sound, and it was even more lively than before. Chapter 4297 Poisonous Wasp 9 The resurrected poisonous wasp flew towards Old Five's eyes. Old Five was very alert and quickly swung his palm towards the poisonous wasp. The poisonous wasp was swept by the palm wind and fell to the ground with a wobble. Old Five snorted coldly and walked over, wanting to completely kill the poisonous wasp. Unexpectedly, the poisonous wasp that was already on its last breath suddenly pounced towards his face. Old Five originally thought that the ghost wasp was already half dead. He didn't expect it to suddenly counterattack. Although it avoided his eyes, its nose was ruthlessly pierced by the poisonous sting. Old Five covered his nose and cried out, retreating to the back. Disdain flashed in the eyes of the ghost wasp, and it flew into the swarm to continue fighting. The fierce tiger hunting group members were very anxious because of the stinger ghost wasps. Although their spiritual power was much higher than those stinger ghost wasps, those stinger ghost wasps were obviously toying with them. Unknowingly, they were drawn away by those stinger ghost wasps. A faint light flashed in the eyes of the stinger ghost wasp that had come back from the dead. It buzzed and flew to the front of the short fatty. The short fatty closed his eyes. It was over. He was now tightly bound. He could only let the needle ghost wasp attack him. When the needle ghost wasp saw the short fatty's heroic appearance, it could not help but laugh. Its two front claws suddenly turned into two small saws, cutting the short fatty's rope with a swoosh. The short fatty was completely dumbfounded. Although he did not see what was going on, there was no one on his side here. It was definitely the needle ghost wasp that helped him break the rope. How did it do it? Why did it help him? However, now was not the time to study this. It was more important to escape. The short and fat man hurriedly took out a knife from his storage ring to help others cut the rope. However, he was seen by sixth brother. He cried out in surprise, "Fifth brother, second brother has broken the rope. Quickly catch him." The short and fat man gritted his teeth in hatred. However, he had no choice but to fight with sixth brother and fifth brother. He knew that he had to stall for a little longer, so that the strange poisonous stinger ghost bee would have time to break the ropes of the others. Therefore, the short fatty roared and activated all of his strength, blocking the attacks of the two people in an instant. When the poisonous bee 9 saw this, she looked at the short fatty in a new light. She did not stay idle and secretly cut the ropes of the other 4 people. The 4 people were the same as the short fatty. Although they were a little puzzled as to why the ropes would break by themselves, they did not have the time to think too much. They immediately took out their weapons and met up with the short fatty. Even so, the fierce tiger hunting group, together with 5th and 6th, had twice the number of people as the short fatty and the others. It was too difficult to win. When the fierce tiger hunting group saw that the short fatty and the others had escaped, they immediately ignored the poisonous stingers and ghost bees. They all surrounded them, wanting to regain control of the 5 people. How could the poisonous stinger ghost bees let them get what they wanted? They immediately rushed towards the face of one of them without any regard for their own safety. When the other poisonous stinger ghost bees saw their beloved doing this, they immediately followed suit and rushed towards the face of those people. This action was no different from committing suicide, but in order to win the favor of a beauty. These poisonous stinger ghost bees also went all out. Although a few members of the fierce tiger hunting group were stung, more than 10 poisonous stinger ghost bees were also smashed into meat paste, including poisonous bee 9. Chapter 4298. The bee trap. The drones thought that Wasp 9 had been killed. Just as they were about to disperse, they were pleasantly surprised to see Wasp 9 flying out from the bushes again. Those poisonous stinger ghost bees were quite low in intelligence, so they didn't feel anything wrong and once again followed Wasp 9 to charge into the formation. As for the members of the fierce tiger hunting group, they saw that these poisonous stinger ghost bees were all the same. How could they tell which was which? Therefore, no one noticed that Wasp 9 had been resurrected again and again. The poisonous Wasp 9 relied on the fact that he was a pervert who couldn't die and stabbed several people. Very soon, more than half of the members of the fierce tiger hunting squad were stabbed by the poisonous stingers. Even if they didn't pierce their eyes, however, the poison also greatly weakened their fighting strength. Their heads were swollen like pig heads from being stung. They were in a very sorry state. They were so angry that they almost fainted. These poisonous stingers and ghost bees usually didn't attack cultivators. They didn't know what was wrong with them today that they wanted to make things difficult for them. However, the short fatty and the others saw a glimmer of hope. The more they fought, the braver they became. As long as they persevered until Sha Wuhan rushed over, they weren't afraid of these people. This was because firstly, Sha Wuhan's spiritual power was higher than Tu Lai's. Secondly, Tu Lai was afraid that Sha Wuhan would destroy the things in his hands, so he definitely didn't dare to tangle with them. Thirdly, there were more than 20 hunting squads in Thorn Forest. If Tu Lai did not have full confidence, he would not dare to fight to the death with the wolf hunting squads. At this moment, the sound of footsteps came from afar. Sha Wuhan, Tu Lai, and the others had arrived. Sha Wuhan was rough, but there were details. Although he did not react at that time, when he saw that only half of Tu Lai's men were left, he immediately realized that he had fallen into a trap. Tu Lai did not dare to act forcefully, so he could only let Sha Wuhan come here. He felt that this was not a big deal. In any case, according to the estimation of the time, Fifth Brother and the others had already succeeded. When the time came, he would use Shorty and the others to threaten them. Sha Wuhan was the most loyal person, so he was not afraid that Sha Wuhan would not comply. However, when he saw the situation in front of him, he was so angry that his nose almost went crooked. Although Shorty and the others had many wounds on their bodies, they were much better compared to those pigheads of the fierce tiger hunting squad. What the hell was going on? A member of the fierce tiger hunting squad cursed, "Commander, we had already controlled these 5 people. Who knew that a group of poisonous stinger ghost bees would fly over and attack us for no reason, causing us to be in such a sorry state?" When Poisonous Bee 9 heard his words, he was afraid that the remaining poisonous stinger ghost bees would lose their lives as well. He immediately brought his admirers and flew away. Poisonous Bee 9 felt that since Sha Wuhan had come, Tu Lai would be cautious. He reckoned that the short fatty and the others would be able to escape unscathed. In that case, her task now was to think of a way to collect the human head fee. A servant like her did not need to pay the human head fee. Other than her, there were 6 people left in the wolf-killing hunting group. Each of them had 5,000, which was 30,000 low-grade yuan coins. Last time, Sha Wuhan said that he only had 20,000 low-grade yuan coins. These days, the prey were all in the hands of that ingrate 5th, so he could only hunt a 6th-grade demon beast. Therefore, this guy brought a group of admirers to walk around the thorny forest. He had only one goal, which was to attract enough admirers and then hunt a 6th-grade yuan beast. This fellow had tried to use the beast taming technique to contract these poisonous stinger ghost bees, but found that it had no effect. Presumably, the beast taming technique was useless against origin beasts, so he could only use the bee trap. Chapter 4299 Zhen Meili ran away on the other side. The short fatty loudly said to Sha Wuhan, "Big brother, old 5th and old 6th, these 2 ingrates, have already pledged their allegiance to Tu Lai. We have all been deceived by them." Sha Wuhan had already guessed a little when he saw the situation on the scene. He did not say anything and instead raised his saber and approached the people surrounding the short fatty. Those people were intimidated by Sha Wuhan's killing intent, and could not help but open a path for him. Tu Lai gritted his teeth. He estimated in his heart what the chances of winning were if he forcefully made a move. At this moment, Lao Wu said to Tu Lai in a flattering manner, "Commander Tu, the rank 6 demonic beast they killed and the demonic beast they killed recently are all in my storage ring. They won't be able to gather enough money for the human head fee tomorrow." Tu Lai narrowed his eyes and said to Sha Wuhan, "Sha Wuhan, you heard it, right? Even if I spare you today, you have to get out of Thorn Forest tomorrow. Have you thought it through?" Sha Wuhan snorted coldly, "Don't bother. We have our own ways." Although Tu Lai was unwilling, he could only let Sha Wuhan and the others leave. Anyway, if they couldn't pay the human head fee tomorrow, they could only lower their heads to him. After Sha Wuhan and the others left the encirclement, the short fatty and the others were still going to hunt. Sha Wuhan waved his hand and said, "All of you are injured. Even if we can kill a few low-level origin beasts, it won't be of any help. Moreover, if Tu Lai is desperate, it won't be easy. Let's go back to the camp first. Hearing this, the short fatty and the others could only follow Sha Wuhan back to the camp. Big brother, where did Zhenmeili go? And her dog is missing too. The short fatty looked around but didn't see Yun Chujio. Sha Wuhan frowned. Maybe she went to the toilet? The pretty girl's stomach doesn't seem to be very healthy. After a while, when the crowd saw that Yun Chujio hadn't returned, the short fatty said angrily, I know. This Zhenmeili must have thought that we couldn't gather enough money tomorrow, so she ran away. How heartless. That's right. To think that we still treated her like a sister. We built her a wooden house and brought her some wild fruits to eat. I didn't expect that she would run away at this time. It's really a case of everyone running away in the face of a great disaster. This Zhenmeili looks like a simple and honest person, but she's actually a snobbish person. Sha Yuan's expression was very ugly. He thought that he had a good eye for people, but today he suffered a series of blows. First, Old 5 and Old 6 joined Tu Lai. And then even Zhenmeili, whom he had recruited, ran away. Sha Wuhan thought of the storage ring and origin beast bag that he had half sold and half given to Yun Chujio, and felt a chill in his heart. It seemed that he had really made a mistake. Soon the sky darkened and everyone's mood was gloomy. They did not even have the mood to eat. Sha Wuhan's mouth opened a few times. Finally he said, Our wolf-killing hunting group originally had the smallest number of people, and now Old 5 and Old 6 have defected to Tu Lai. Even if we can barely scrape together the human head fee tomorrow, we still can't pay next month's human head fee. So we'd better disperse. The short fatty was about to say something. Sha Wuhan waved his hand and said, No need to say anymore. Over the past year or so I've dragged you guys down. I still have 20,000 low-grade yuan coins here. You guys can split it with me. Then you can join other hunting groups tomorrow. At this moment, someone suddenly said leisurely, So what if we have fewer people? Fewer people has the advantage of having fewer people. I think it's a good thing that we don't have a black sheep. The short fatty looked up and exclaimed, Zhenmeili? Didn't you run away? Why are you back? Chapter 4300 Three-Eyed Ghost Wolf Sha Wuhan. And the others also looked towards the source of the sound. They saw Yun Chujio strolling over from the edge of the forest. She even followed the yellow puppy. Yun Chujio curled the corners of her lips and said with a smile, Who said that I ran away? Am I a person who doesn't care about loyalty? I just went to settle some matters. The short and fat man and the others were all stunned. She was clearly still the same big, square-headed and ugly freak, but for some reason the feeling she gave people now was different, especially her eyes. It was as if they were brighter than the stars in the sky. Everyone was silent for a moment. The short and fat man said snappily, Why didn't you look after the camp properly? Why didn't you cook properly at home? Why did you run around for no reason? If you were accidentally eaten by the origin beasts or killed by other hunting groups, you would have nowhere to cry. Yun Chujio knew that this short and fat man's words were not pleasant to hear. He was actually a good person, so she was not angry. She smiled and said, Aren't you going to ask me what I'm going to do? The short and fat man curled his lips. What else can you do? You're just going to pick wild vegetables or something like that. Could it be that you're going to hunt origin beasts? Not to mention anything else, even a tier 1 poisonous stinger ghost bee could kill you. At this point, the short fatty suddenly remembered that after returning to the camp, everyone had been frowning and had forgotten to tell them about the poisonous stinger ghost bee that had cut their ropes. Just as the short fatty was daydreaming, he heard a loud bang and a huge three-eyed ghost wolf's corpse appeared in front of him. The short fatty, Sha Wuhan, and the others were dumbfounded. They rubbed their eyes almost at the same time. Were they hallucinating? The three-eyed ghost wolf was a level 6 origin beast. Where did Zhenmeili come from? After a long silence, the short fatty stammered, Zhenmeili, where did you get it? I picked it up, Yun Chujio said with a smile. Picked it up? Who was she kidding? This was a level 6 origin beast. How could she pick up a level 6 origin beast so easily? Hei Shinjo looked at them with a smile. She naturally did not pick up this origin beast, but it was this guy who led hundreds of admirers to ambush it. Previously, after Yun Chujo left with the remaining admirers, she had been swaggering around in the forest. After spending more than 2 hours, she finally managed to attract a long string of admirers. However, Hei Shinjo knew that even if there were hundreds of poisonous stinger ghost bees behind her, it was still quite difficult to hunt a level 6 demonic beast. She had to use a surprise attack to win. This fellow had been lucky. She had encountered a three-eyed ghost wolf that was already injured on its leg. In the chaos, she rushed towards the eye on the forehead of the three-eyed ghost wolf without caring about her own safety. She did not expect to hit the right spot. The weakness of the three-eyed ghost wolf was the eye on its forehead. After being stabbed by Hei Shinjo, its fighting strength was greatly reduced and it died very quickly. Yun Chujo secretly put the three-eyed ghost wolf's corpse into her storage ring. The poisonous stinger ghost bees were not very intelligent. Although it was strange how did their prey suddenly disappear, however, they still followed the poisonous stinger ghost bees and flew away. Hei Shinjo got what she wanted. She went to a hidden place and transformed herself into a withered branch. The poisonous stinger ghost bees circled around for a while and then dispersed. After the bees left, Hei Shinjo learned her lesson. This time she transformed into a tricolored ghost butterfly and leisurely flew to the edge of the forest. When she reached the hidden place, she transformed into Jean Meili's appearance. Dog 2 was summoned and rushed over. This was how the previous scene happened. Chapter 4301 The Blessing of the Ghost Ancestor. Yun Chujo collected her thoughts. She smiled and said, I really picked it up. I've been living alone since I was young, so I know a little about medicine. I saw that my brothers were often injured, so I wanted to pick some herbs at the edge of the forest. I accidentally went too far, so I rushed back. I didn't expect to find this origin beast on my way back. If you don't believe me, look at the holes on this three-eyed ghost wolf's body, and it's a little swollen. It was most likely attacked by some demonic insect. I guess it didn't die on the spot. Instead, it ran to the edge of the forest in a panic. That's how I managed to take advantage of it. When everyone heard this, they became a little more convinced. There were indeed many holes on this three-eyed ghost wolf's body. In particular, the eye on its forehead had already been pierced into a bloody hole. Clearly, this was its fatal wound. The short fatty suddenly slapped his thigh and said, Beautiful girl is right. This three-eyed ghost wolf was definitely killed by those poisonous stinger ghost bees. If it wasn't for those poisonous stinger ghost bees, none of us would have been able to escape, especially one of them. It even cut our ropes. I don't even know how it did it. The short fatty said and gestured, recounting everything that had happened. Sha Wuhan was still skeptical about Yun Chujia's words, but after hearing what the short fatty said, he immediately believed her. At this moment the short fatty said excitedly, previously, those poisonous needle ghost bees saved us, and now they indirectly gave us a level 6 origin beast. The ghost ancestor must have appeared. Previously, the ghost ancestor must have struck sixth brother to remind us. It's a pity that we were too stupid to understand the ghost ancestor's intentions. Otherwise we wouldn't have let fifth brother and sixth brother, those two bastards, kidnap our prey. Suddenly, Sha Wuhan knelt on the ground with a plop, and so did the short and fat man and the others. Hei Shinjo was dumbfounded, but she had no choice but to kneel with him. Sha Wuhan and the others knelt 3 times respectfully and said sincerely, Thank you, ghost ancestor, for your blessing. Hei Shinjo rolled her eyes secretly. What did this have to do with the ghost ancestor? It was all thanks to her, alright? However, this fellow felt that it was better this way. With the ghost ancestor taking the blame, it would be much more convenient for her to do things in the future. After everyone knelt down to worship the ghost ancestor, they stood up. The short and fat man scratched his head and said somewhat embarrassedly, Pretty girl, I said a lot of unpleasant words earlier. Don't take it to heart. The others also came over to apologize. They felt that what they said about Yoon Chujo running away was too much. Yoon Chujo said with a smile, "It's not strange if you don't know. Besides, we're all family. There's no need to treat us as strangers. Brother Shah, now that we have this level 6 origin beast, doesn't it mean that the wolf-killing hunting group doesn't need to be disbanded?" The short fatty and the others looked at Sha Wuhan eagerly. Sha Wuhan clenched his fist. He said hoarsely, "The wolf-killing hunting group was founded by me, so I naturally don't want to disband. Since the Ghost Clan has helped us through this crisis, then let's give it another try." The short fatty and the others immediately cheered. Although they could join other hunting groups with their skills, they would rather eat chaff and swallow vegetables with Sha Wuhan than be with those people. The corner of Yoon Chujia's mouth curled up. However, when she took a glance at the storage ring in her hand, her gaze instantly became a little subtle. "You're tuning in to the Li Mei Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure."